Hello! Right, let's turn this off. Good evening, everyone! Let me just get everyone's mic up. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Unmakeable, the show where we dig up old screenplays that were never made and they never should have been made, and we've got a winner for you. As you can see, we're doing Gladiator 2, which was written by Nick Cave, the same Nick Cave from The Bad Seeds. Never written a screenplay before, but he decided that he was going to do this, and what a vision he had. If you thought Gladiator was good but needed more electrocuted giraffes, this is the film for you. If you thought Gladiator was good but it had too many good roles for women, this is the movie for you. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our cast for this evening. There we are. We've got... Is everyone on? Who's gone missing now? Who have I not
gone?
Who's gone? Oh, God, we've lost someone.
You have?
This shouldn't be hard to work out, Dan.
This has happened under your watch.
There are very few female parts in the thing.
Is this because I said there was no good roles for women? The one woman in the room decided to leave.
She's
All right, well, she'll be back.
She's quit already. She's in a trailer.
You'll have to fill.
I'll introduce everyone else then. Actor, writer, and comedian Paul Litchfield is with us.
Hello. Hello.
Actor, writer, and comedian Nat Tapley is with us.
Hello.
somewhere. And wait a minute, she's back.
She's
wait
back.
Wait a minute. Add to stream. Hello.
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
No.
Right, I can see this is what a brave new world we're living in. It says device not connected. Hang on, let's try again. Hello.
Let me find the camera.
I can hear you. We can hear you.
I'm fucked up somehow. How do I
Hello,
start?
hello. This is the BBC. Can you hear us?
I can assure you that is not a man.
Right, add to stream. All right, Larry, if you can hear us, you've got a while before your first scene. We were. It was going so well. I mean, also introduce our other guest.
We'll record all your bits tomorrow.
Put you in an ADR.
We'll be back tomorrow. Can we also please welcome Smurfspot host and author John Rain?
Oh, he's there.
Who's wherever you're
Hi.
watching.
If you're one of those
Will be
people.
in the role of you'll be reading the stage directions for us.
Yeah.
A word of warning for everyone who's watching, and let's just have a look at the comments. Bloody hell, we've already got lots of comments already.
Have we?
Get off there. What happened there, Larry? Well, someone's blaming one of our audience.
Has someone already said I am not entertained? Because I'm waiting for that.
We've got one woohoo, Mr. Rain.
Oh,
Ooh.
Someone just said, aha. Maybe I was a little bit partridge at the top. We've still got. We've lost Larry, but we're gonna have to plow on anyway, and then we'll all be playing the lady parts.
Christ.
That didn't sound.
I don't want
good.
to play with lady parts alive, just so you know. That's
Yeah. Just
Private.
a word of warning for everyone who's watching. We are drinking.
I'm drinking bad beer. I've been told off for it already. but
I'm
fuck
drinking what I thought was rose lemonade and turned out to be jasmine and rose gin. So I'm switching the red stripe.
Nice.
Very good.
So we're doing
Red
that.
wine. Red wine.
We are going to play a little drinking game as well. Every time, this is for everyone at home as well. Every time an animal is mentioned or specifically harmed or killed, take a drink. And every time someone mentions wheat, take a drink.
Oh my god.
We're going to get. Yeah, we're going to
We're
get.
gonna be.
Just keep your ear out for the lovely chinchilla rimming scene. It's
Yeah.
done so well.
In a
Done
wheat field.
so well.
It's not harmed in that, really.
If anything, it's pleasure.
Emotionally. No, it's emotionally harmed. It
It's-
comes up at the end. It comes up at the end credits and does a little soliloquy. It's quite moving.
Well,
I think we have wheat
it's
at
good
the
to,
heart, which does
it's
make
good to
me wanna
Netflix
drink.
and chinchilla.
So I'm just going to check to see if Larry is back in the room.
I'll tell you what, it'll be all right on the night.
It'll be fine. And nobody, 65 people watching, which is
What?
well, actually, par for S4C on a Friday night. So this is great for me.
This could be an episode of Pierre Colombi, whatever it's called. Pierre Colombo, what's it called?
Pierre Colombo.
You know,
Pierre
the, Wel-
Colombo.
the Welsh soap you will watch.
There's just one
Bubble
more
of
thing.
Cum. Pierre Colombo is the worst one I've heard of that one so far. I heard that show, Pierre Colombo. It's Bubble of
Pierre
Cum.
Bubble of cum.
Bubble of Cum. Right.
On
Same
tonight,
thing.
Colombo, bubble of cum.
So,
Next
Patrick
up.
McGowan's in it.
Hello,
Same.
Inspector.
I mean, we've got to start the show. And I
Yeah.
Larry has messaged or anything right now or texted. She could be dead.
She's been taken up.
Well, we'll plow on and we'll see how far we get.
Yeah.
So, this is Gladiator 2, and the stage directions will be read by John Rain. So, when you are ready, let's begin.
Credit sequence.
Cut.
Sorry?
No, go on, carry on. No,
Okay.
go on, carry on.
A dense blanket of rain descends on a vast sodden wilderness. Oh, that's not in the stage directions. Two thieves, dressed in rags, hair plastered to their faces, run through the deluge. One holds a wooden staff in his hand. They puff and pant. Occasionally they stop and point through the impenetrable rain, then trudge on. Eventually they stop. Thief 1 looks up into the rain. Thief 2 looks down at the ground below. Close-up of Maximus. Lying, arms splayed in the mud, unconscious. Rain hammers down. He wears his gladiatorial breastplate, and his sword rests in his lifeless hand. The two thieves, like buzzards, swoop down upon him. The two thieves strip Maximus of the breastplate. Thief 1 puts on the breastplate and roars with toothless laughter. He brandishes his staff.
Oh, the mighty Gladiator! Take up your sword, you dog!
Thief 2 picks up Maximus's sword.
Dog, I piss in your mother's milk. Prepare to die.
Two thieves cackle with laughter. Their mock fight over the lifeless body of Maximus. Thief 2 stops suddenly, stands rigid for a moment, his face full of stupid surprise.
I'm hit!
Yep. Thief 2 wavers, drops the sword, then falls flat on his face in the mud. A spear hangs out of his back. Thief 1, still wearing the breastplate, turns and flees across the mudded expanse, disappearing into the rain. Maximus, with a great sucking of breath, rears suddenly up, his eyes wide with horror. He looks about him. He tries to stand, but is too weak. He sees a figure, Mordecai, moving mysteriously towards him in the rain. Mordecai, 40 years old, obviously he writes for the Daily Mail as well, reaches Maximus. He stands over him. He gestures at the dead thief.
Another poor wretch dispatched to oblivion.
Again, Maximus tries to stand but cannot. Mordecai squats beside him.
Take it slow, my friend.
Maximus looks around, bewildered, as if waking from a dream.
What place is this?
That is a good question.
Maximus reaches out in panic, grabs Mordecai roughly by the collar, and pulls him close.
I asked you, what place is this?
Mordecai detaches himself from Maximus's grip.
At first you will be disorientated and confused, and indeed a little vexed. It is to be expected. But direct your anger elsewhere. I am a friend. Let me help you stand.
Mordecai helps Maximus to his feet.
Who are you?
Mordecai wraps his hand around the spear that sticks out of the dead thief's back.
Me? My name is Mordecai.
Mordecai places his foot on the dead thief's back for leverage, and then with a grunt, he pulls free the spear.
Oh, I keep the peace.
Mordecai turns his back on Maximus and begins to move away. He stops. He turns to Maximus.
Well, come on. Follow me.
Mordecai trudges off through the rain. Maximus picks up his sword, then, unsteady and drained, follows. 3. Exterior rock ledge shelter, foot of a hill. Maximus and Mordecai sit under the shelter of a ledge jutting from a rock face and at the foot of a rise. Rain hammers down. Mordecai shouts to be heard above the rain. He hands Maximus some bread, some meat.
Eat. You will be hungry.
Maximus takes the food and eats ravenously. Mordecai hands Maximus a bladder of wine.
Rough as dog's guts, but the best you'll find round here.
Maximus drinks greedily.
I have been waiting for you.
Maximus stops eating. He looks at Mordecai.
For me? I do not know you.
But I know you, Maximus. I saw you fight just yesterday in the Colosseum.
The Colosseum?
I saw you slay the Emperor.
Maximus leans back heavily against a rock. He closes his eyes. He opens them.
I was there, but I was not there. I cheered, but no one heard me.
Speak plainly.
I saw you fall.
Maximus closes his eyes.
Fall?
Mordecai leans close to Maximus.
I saw you die.
The bladder of wine falls from Maximus's hand.
No time for riddles.
Mordecai takes a shirt from his bag, folds it, and places it behind Maximus's head.
Oh, you have time, my friend.
Mordecai stands and looks out at the wilderness, at the relentless rain.
You have an eternity.
Here's a dream, everyone. Maximus walks through golden wheat fields.
With Theresa May.
With Theresa May. Yes, very, very he's touching the tips of wheat with his fingers. In the distance, by a farmhouse and beneath a giant poplar, stands his wife, Maria, and his 7-year-old son, Marius. Maximus walks towards them. Without warning, great brood storm clouds move across the sky and it begins to rain heavily. The rain is so dense, Maximus can barely see his wife and child. There is a rumble of thunder and a bolt of lightning leaps from the sky. With a great crack, cleaves the poplar in half, Exterior, rock ledge, shelter, foot of a hill. Maximus rears up from his sleep in panic.
Maria! Marius!
Mordecai, who is looking out at the wilderness, turns. Maximus climbs to his feet and grabs Mordecai.
My wife! My son! I must find them! What is this place? Where am I?
Maximus spins around, looking wildly about him. Mordecai pulls himself free and moves off.
Come, Maximus. I have something to show you.
Exterior, rise of a hill. Maximus and Mordecai walk up the rise of a steep hill. The rain beats down. The sky growls, and a fork of lightning pitches itself from the heavens. Maximus looks up at... Good. Maximus looks up at the heavens, then all around him. He is in a state of great agitation.
Thunder?
Yes, it rains a lot here.
There is another place like this. A place of wheat,
Wait.
fields, and olive trees. I know, I have seen it. My wife and son are there. They await me.
As I said, it rains a lot here.
Elysium. I was moving towards Elysium. Sunlight, wheat field, fucking hell. The great poplar. I must find them.
Calm yourself, Maximus, and take heed.
Maximus and Mordecai approach the top of the rise.
I will find them.
Mordecai stops Maximus a few feet before the top of the rise.
As I said before, it does rain an awful lot here. Listen to me, Maximus. There are two types of people here. Those who search and those who have given up the search. The former, in time, always become the latter. To search is to hope. And, well, here, there is no hope.
Tell me where we are.
That's simply the way it is. You will learn in time that eternity is the state of things at this very moment. We inhale, we exhale, and our blood pumps endlessly around our body without pause and for all time. It sends some people mad, you know.
Maximus looks at the wilderness around him.
No, I don't know. What people?
Mordecai escorts Maximus to the top of the rise and gestures to the valley below.
Those people.
Maximus stands at the top of the hill and looks down through the rain in horror. 7. The encampment. Below them on a vast plateau, a multitude of people are camped by the edge of a flat black sea. A massive refuge camp that stretches out endlessly. Fires burn amongst the improvised shelters, and thousands of people sit forlorn and hopeless in their squalor. Maximus stares down.
What an holy place is this? Nooth?
This, my friend, is a dumping ground for the inconsequential, the unnamed, the insignificant. I suspect there are many places such as these. It was not always so, well, impossible.
Maximus moves off in the direction of the encampment. Mordecai follows.
Once the powers were strong, there was order, a reckoning, a passing from one place to another. But not anymore. Something unheard is happening here. The order is shifting. The scales have been tipped.
By what name does it go by?
It has no name. It does not need one.
Maximus and Mordecai walk down into the crowd. The mob eyes them suspiciously. Mordecai moves amongst them with authority. Bedraggled people squat and cook and sit and wait in their rough shelters. They part from Mordecai and Maximus as they weave their way through. A desperate-looking woman pushes past Maximus and Mordecai.
Cow!
The woman kicks over another woman's cooking pot, and the two then brawl, rolling in the mud, tearing at each other. Mordecai reaches down, takes the desperate woman roughly by the hair, and hauls her off.
What's the problem here?
The desperate woman stares sullenly at Mordecai.
I asked you a question.
The desperate woman lowers her eyes. Mordecai pushes her away, and she disappears into the throng. Mordecai uprights the cooking pot, then turns to Maximus.
Women, they are the same everywhere.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. The women with the cooking pot hands Mordecai a lump of bread.
Cooking pot hands.
Yes, cooking pot hands. It's good for catching things. Maximus and Mordecai continue through the crowd. Mordecai chomps on the bread.
They've given me a little power, a modest position of rank. I maintain order, such as it is. In turn, I am rewarded.
With bread?
Mordecai looks at the bread, then tosses it away and laughs.
They allow me brief sojourns home.
Who are they?
Mordecai points to a ruined stone edifice beyond the crowd on the next rise. He sneers and gestures grandly.
Them up there, the all-powerful.
Maximus looks up at the ruined temple, then looks at Mordecai.
And where is home?
Once again, Mordecai laughs.
Why, Rome, of course.
Maximus stops walking and grabs Mordecai by the arm and swings him round to face him.
Rome?
Mordecai smiles.
I see Rome, but Rome does not see me.
Speak sense.
Suddenly, a tremor of excitement ripples through the crowd, and people begin to stand and push and press towards the sea.
The weather there is more agreeable.
A great roar goes up, and Maximus and Mordecai are jostled apart.
Night follows day.
Maximus and Mordecai are pushed further apart, and Mordecai shouts toward Maximus above the din.
The birds sing on the branches. Winter becomes spring. Spring becomes summer.
Mordecai throws out his arms in grand, mad gesture.
Look at these fools. They think there is some way out of here.
Mordecai is elbowed in the face and knocked to the ground. Maximus is shoved by the crowd. They are separated. The crowd seem to chant a word that Maximus cannot make out. A toothless old man, played by me, bulging eyes, runs into Maximus. Elysium! Elysium! Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thanks. Maximus takes hold of the old man. The old man struggles.
Elysium?
Let me go!
Where? Where is Elysium?
There, on the water, a boat! Maximus releases the old man aside and pushes his way through the crowd. He reaches the shoreline and stares out at the flat black expanse of water. People have waded into the sea, shouting and crying and gnashing their teeth. A small boat is moving slowly away, and Maximus can just make out the shape of a man, head bent, holding a crutch, silent amongst the rolling masses, before the boat is swallowed up by the fog. Fights break out on the shoreline as people hurl themselves at each other. Women fall and beat their breasts. Others sit, their faces drained of hope, and stare blankly out at the sea. Maximus takes all of this in. He then turns and looks up at the ruined temple on the rise, and with the crowd rioting around him, begins to walk towards it. He pushes his way through the hordes of people. Women huddle over babies, children cry, men rush. This way and that. It is a place of great anguish. Encampment, vendor's stall. The crowd is thinned as Maximus makes his way towards the ruined temple. He passes a vendor's stall. The vendor sees Maximus. The vendor grabs something from the table and shoves it underneath. There is a brief moment of recognition as Maximus lurches forward, takes hold of the vendor and drags him onto the table. It is the thief who stole the breastplate. The thief reaches back, gropes beneath the table and grabs from the fourth the breastplate, and Maximus takes it off him. Entrance of the ruined temple. Maximus, wearing his breastplate, approaches the ruined temple. Mordecai sits on the stone steps of the temple, pressing a blood-spotted rag against his nose. Maximus begins to mount the steps. Mordecai gestures to the breastplate.
Ah, the gladiator restored.
Maximus continues up the steps, ignoring Mordecai.
I had a feeling you would come here.
Maximus passes Mordecai. Mordecai dabs at his swollen nose.
Oh, they await you, my friend. But stay sharp.
Maximus enters the temple.
All is not as it seems to be.
Mordecai.
These are the words you're looking for.
I thought as much. Mordecai presses the bloody rag against his nose. Interior ruined temple. Maximus enters the dim confines of the temple. 7 dissolute old men, Jupiter, Apollo, Pluto, Neptune, Mars, Mercury, Bacchus, cluster around a makeshift table, their heads craned towards each other as they mumble amongst themselves. Maximus stands before them. The old men grow silent. They look ill and diseased. Jupiter, fat, eyes boiled and bloodshot, sits in the center. He looks at Maximus and pushes the old men away.
Okay, Jupiter's going to be played by Mervyn Bragg.
Okay.
Give me room.
The old men sit upright, tottering drunkenly on their seats. Jupiter leans forward and throws open his arms.
Behold, the mighty gladiator.
The old men smirk and titter.
in all his thundering apparel.
The old men burst into laughter, rocking and howling. Ha ha ha! Jupiter raises his hand. The hilarity dies down. Mars, spider thin, sniggers like a girl behind his hand.
Now, come on, speak, Gladiator. State your purpose. What brings you here?
I seek my wife and son.
Jupiter leans forward.
Oh, were they good people, Gladiator? Were they kind?
Yes.
That's what you're going with, yes.
They
Okay.
were, yes.
Yes. Mars sniggers and leans forward.
John is Mars.
Am I?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
I'm back.
You're Mars.
You're
I'm
Mars.
Mars now then. All right then. Were they honest and compassionate?
Yes, they were, yes.
Were they virtuous, Gladiator? Did the little birds twitter as they passed by? Maximus stares at Jupiter.
Well, you won't find them around here.
Jupiter throws himself back in his seat and laughs, then breaks into a coughing fit.
Christ on the back.
Again, the old men roar with laughter. Ha ha
All right.
ha! Maximus
Damn you.
steps forward and rests his hands on the table. He leans in close to Jupiter.
Oh, yeah.
Can you help me, old man, or not?
In unison, the old men reel back and wave their hands in mock horror. Ye gods, this man means business. The old men laugh. Jupiter raises his hand. The laughter dies. Jupiter stares into Maximus's eyes.
Old? Is it true? But a mere man?
Jupiter slowly shakes his head.
I think not.
Jupiter leans forward.
I could assign you to oblivion in a breath on the Seth Meg show.
Maximus and Jupiter stare at each other.
I have come to you in good faith. Can you help me?
Jupiter theatrically cups his hand to his ear.
Hush! Listen. What is that I hear?
The room grows silent. The torch wheel creaks.
The winch of fortune turning in your favour.
How so?
Listen to me, Maximus.
Jupiter leans closer. His face becomes grave.
There is this man. His name is Hephaestus. He is, one of our own. He's disappeared, you see. He turned his back on us, lit out into the wilderness, the great desert. His head full of devils and bad ideas.
Bacchus, ravaged, old hands trembling, leans in. A madman!
A lunatic.
A dissident.
His brains swarm with all manner of damnable and most dangerous notions. And he has, converts, Maximus. Converts.
Aphostates. Oh, sorry, fanatics.
He is an agitator. That's a perfect thing for Melvin. He's an agitator. He squeezes the bellows. He squeezes the bellows at descent. A little wind, a mere puff, but within it, the presage of pandemonium. Am I making myself clear?
No.
Fucking delay on that, wasn't it? Hephaestus has certain ideas, you see, about omnipotence. He believes there is a being greater than us. Can you imagine it? This evil little idea is growing, you see, collecting weight. Some of the rabble are actually listening to him. This little idea.
Jupiter gestures at the ailing old men, then leans forward. Jupiter grows quiet, almost sorrowful.
It's hurting us. You know, look around you. We weren't always this way. We are sick unto death.
Languishing! Laid low.
Hey.
Maximus moves closer so that his face is close to that of Jupiter.
What has this to do with my wife and child?
Oh, we are suffering, Maximus. And we are not without our powers. You know, we can bring you and your family together. Indeed, I can do it in a breath.
If you have such power, why not deal with this problem yourselves?
Yeah, it's not so simple. Hephaestus, you see, he's one of us.
Jupiter runs one fat finger slowly down the length of Maximus's breastplate.
In any case, your reputation and procedure, Gladiator.
The old men smirk and chuckle.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do?
The old men laugh. Ha ha ha! Just me then. Jupiter does not. He leans close to Maximus.
Find him
Find him?
and kill him.
Maximus and Jupiter stare at one another. Maximus turns and leaves. He sees Mordecai leaning in the doorway. Maximus pushes past him and exits the temple. Exterior, the encampment. Maximus moves with purpose down the temple steps. Mordecai follows him down.
Wait!
Maximus ignores him and marches on. Maximus stops, turns, and confronts Mordecai.
How do I get to the desert?
Maximus,
The desert, how do I get there?
they are lying to you.
I will find it myself.
Maximus stalks off. Mordecai shouts after Maximus.
Your wife and son are not where you think they are.
Maximus turns and takes hold of Mordecai roughly.
Tell me what you know.
Your wife made a plea.
A plea? With whom?
Maximus releases Mordecai. Mordecai points to the ruined temple.
That is where the bargains are done.
What kind of plea?
Your wife sacrificed her place in Elysium so that your son could live out the rest of his life on Earth.
My son is alive?
Alive, my friend, and in Rome!
And my wife, where is she?
Mordecai gestures around the vast encampment.
Somewhere here or beyond?
Beyond?
Mordecai waves his hand towards the next rise, miles away.
Oh, Maximus, it goes on and on.
Maximus stares out at the endless encampment. Mordecai looks at Maximus, reading his thoughts.
There's nothing you can do, Maximus. One simply has to be.
Maximus looks at Mordecai with scorn.
Do nothing? Then you are of no use to me.
Maximus moves off. Mordecai hops along beside him.
Wait! Maximus!
Maximus keeps walking.
I too made a bargain.
Where are you going?
The desert.
Maximus lurches off. Mordecai follows. Edge of the desert. Maximus and Mordecai stand atop of the rise, looking out over a barren expanse. Maximus moves on and down into the parched landscape. Mordecai remains standing on the rise, watching solemnly the retreating figure of Maximus. Now, the next three scenes are just talking about Maximus walking, so I've just written Maximus walks about, so we'll skip them. Exterior, desert, dream. A figure walks forward, shimmering in the heat. The figure collects its form. It draws closer. It is a woman. It is Maximus's wife, Maria.
Help us, Maximus.
Maria moves closer.
Help us.
Exterior, the desert, camp, thicket. Sounds like Maximus rears up from his sleep. It is morning. He looks around him.
Maria!
Maximus hears the voice again and leaps to his feet.
Help us.
Maximus looks around in panic. He hears a movement in the thicket, turns and sees a dark, fleeing shape.
Maria?
Help us.
Maximus follows the voice, skirting the edge of the thicket. Maximus hears a crushing in the brambles and a strangulated moan.
Is that my strangulated moan? Yes.
Well, you say Maria.
Maria.
Maximus sees the shape again, tears at the brambles and finds a great stag. Its horns entangled in the thicket.
Oh.
Stag. So drink, everyone. Yeah. Yes, I know. I got shit beer. Shut up. The stag looks at Maximus with its spooked, rolled eyes. The stag's head is torn by the brambles, its forehead speckled in bright blood. It opens its mouth soundlessly.
Oh. Help us.
Maximus draws his sword and begins to hack at the brambles. The deer bucks and kicks. Maximus continues to chop. The stag panics, and its eyes roll white. It releases a terrible moan. The stag chokes itself to death in the thicket and dies.
Paul, do the moan.
Maximus draws back, his arms and chest torn by the briar, his sword limp at his side. The voice of his wife disappears. Skipping the next scene. Maximus, weak and streaked in blood, falls to his knees. He bows his head. He closes his eyes.
Oh, my wife, my son, I am sorry.
Maximus stays like that for a time. He raises his head. Maximus sees ahead of him in the distance, shimmering in the heat, what looks like a small man-made shelter. He stands unsteadily and moves towards it. Maximus approaches the shelter. Lying on the back on the crude pallet is Hephaestus. He is old, wasted, Cadaverous, barely alive. Cadaverous. He holds a rough cross made of sticks in his bony hand. Maximus stares down at the pitiful creature. Hephaestus turns his head slowly and with great effort, then looks up at Maximus, his eyes deep and dim in their orbits.
I've been waiting for you.
Maximus kneels down beside Hephaestus.
I feared you would not come.
Maximus opens his skin of water and puts it against Hephaestus' lips.
And comes.
I have been sent to kill you.
Well, that was ruined the moment.
Guys, Nick Cave could be watching. Hephaestus coughs back the water. He closes his eyes. He opens them.
We are dying, we gods, fading from the grand scheme. It is for the better.
Hephaestus turns his head away and looks about him.
They've deserted me, my followers, left me here to die. Did you see them? They lost the faith. They fear death, oblivion. I tried to tell them, hold true and the rewards will be beyond measure. Oh, my children.
Hephaestus' hands tighten around the cross and his voice drops to a barely audible whisper. Maximus leans closer to hear him.
I have seen the way that the things shall be. There is but one God. May he forgive all that we have done.
Hephaestus moans horribly.
Oh, the rivers of blood, the torrents of tears.
I must find my wife and my son.
Yes, you must. Your son is in grave danger. He stands before a great storm. In his hand, the nub of his truth.
Dirty boy.
My son, what are you talking about?
Oh, we are all in such terrible and grave danger.
Where is he? What do you mean?
Hephaestus reaches out and with his skeletal claw grabs Maximus and pulls him close.
Come, I will show you.
Hephaestus stares into Maximus's eyes, clutching his rough cross.
Help me, Maximus.
Hephaestus arches his body suddenly, stretches back his neck, and opens his mouth soundlessly. This is good. Exterior town square, Leon's. Maximus reaches the body of a dying Christian.
I'm not sure what that looks like.
No.
I just pull out of a Christian.
Yeah.
In the town square. Well,
Let's say Cliff Richard. The Christian is arched backwards, mouth open, and a terrible scream.
It is Cliff Richard.
It is Cliff Richard, yes. Wimbledon's raining again. A sword thrust downward deep into his chest. All about him, Christians are being massacred by a mob of civilians and guards. Some kneel, some attempt to flee as they are clubbed and hacked to death by a frenzied mob. Bodies twist and shudder and spurt blood on the ground of the town square. The air is full of screams of pain and prayer. Maximus looks about him in horror. He sees at the center of the mayhem an old man, Polyphemus, kneeling in the dirt, petitioning the heavens in prayer. He holds a wooden cross. Christians try to protect Polyphemus and are slain in the process. Maximus is attacked by the mob. Maximus draws his sword out of the chest of the Christian and begins to hack a swathe through them. With great art, he chops and swings at the blood-hungry mob. Several guards bear down upon him. The guards raise their swords against Maximus to deliver the death blow. A man, Lucius, 25 years old, tall, powerful, virile, pushes through the crowd on a large black stallion.
And Lucius will be played tonight by Alan Bennett. Wait.
The guards lower their swords and take hold of Maximus. Lucius dismounts and walks towards Maximus, bloody sword in hand.
I've seen this man before.
Lucius touches Maximus's breastplate with the tip of his sword.
What is your name?
The crowd has quietened. Polyphemus addresses the heavens, clutching his cross.
O Lord, Almighty God and Father of your beloved and blessed Son.
Your name?
Leave the old man. He has no weapon.
Lucius gestures towards Polyphemus, who continues to pray.
Through whom we receive our knowledge of you.
Oh, him? The beloved Bishop of Lyons? Oh.
I said, leave the old man.
Oh, do you threaten me?
Lucius turns and walks away 7 paces. 8.
Today I am in heaven.
Oh, do you threaten me?
Lucius turns and runs towards Polyphemus, bringing down his sword, and with one mighty blow decapitates him.
Oh,
He turns to Maximus and the guards. The Roman breastplate brindled in blood. Lucius points his sword at Maximus.
kill him.
Maximus headbutts one guard, disarms another, brings the sword down upon another. A guard on a horse bears upon Maximus. Maximus drags the guard from his horse, mounts it, and as the Christians scatter, he flees. At the outskirts of Lyons, night. It is night. Maximus leads the horse down a road on the outskirts of Lyons. He moves quietly, cautiously, under the many stars. Two young men, Peter and Marcus, emerge from the shadows. They confront Maximus. Maximus's hand moves towards the hilt of his sword.
We've been looking for you. Come.
What do you want?
It's not safe here. Come.
Peter takes the reins of Maximus's horse.
Come.
Into the blue oyster.
Interior. The house of Irenaeus, Lyons, night. A small room lit by a single candle. Irenaeus, 37 years old, and 5 Christian men and a young Christian girl sit silently in the yellow light, singing Kumbaya. The door opens. Irenaeus rises to his feet. Marcus enters. He ushers in Maximus. Irenaeus addresses Maximus in a hushed voice.
We saw you today. Fight in the square. Who are you?
Irenaeus opens the collar of his robe and shows Maximus a symbol of a fish hanging on a leather thong.
Are you one of us?
Well, what are you?
We're followers of Christ.
You fought beside us. Why?
I saw no one fight today. I saw sheep bleat at the slaughter.
You saw the serpent himself.
His name is Lucius. He believes, like all the Roman idolaters, that he can snuff out the candle of truth with a sword. But he is wrong. He who raises up the sword perishes by it.
His sword made short work of your bishop.
Polyphemus will God this day in glory.
Yes, as one falters, there beside him is another. My name is Irenaeus. I am the new Bishop of Lyon, and when I fall, so another will take my place, then I too will be in eternity.
You will be hunted down and annihilated.
Probably. We are the people of peace.
What do you want from me?
Irenaeus turns and moves to the window. He looks out. The young girl stands. She glows ghostly in the yellow light.
We need your help.
Help?
Irenaeus continues to look out of the window. He does not turn when she speaks.
Lucius, brackets, look up last name, end brackets, is returning to Rome. Our leader in Rome must be alerted. His name is Cassian, brackets, look up last name, end brackets. He is a school teacher.
Just probably a good time to point out that Nick Cave hadn't bothered to look up Rome. He just put in brackets. Generally, this is in the script. Look it up later.
Yeah.
Must have been on tour.
These are not my concerns.
Irenaeus turns. He looks at Maximus.
Of course not, no. It's only we saw you today and we thought you could help. We are sorry.
Maximus turns to leave. Marcus opens the door. At the door, Maximus turns around.
Today, in the square, why did you do nothing?
Irenaeus touches the symbol of the fish around his neck.
Faith.
In what?
In a better world. Beyond.
Maximus looks at the young girl. He stares back, her eyes innocent and vulnerable. In the dim light, Maximus' face darkens.
Your faith is misplaced.
Maximus leaves. Consul of Lyons, night. Lucius, fit and iron hard, stands beside the Consul of Lyon on a balcony overlooking the city. The consul is flabby, distracted. They drink wine. The night is silent. There are many stars.
I could hear their screams from here.
Oh, well, I can assure you they will be silent now.
You did what you came to do, Lucius. Now your work is finished. I assume you'll be leaving in the morning?
Oh, anxious to be rid of me, Counsel.
Desirous of a little harmony, Lucius. What is it Or wretches say, follow all things that make with peace.
Oh, dangerous words, counsel. With that one axiom lies the death of us all.
Lucius places his cup on the table. Close-up of a bead of wine as it travels down the cup and bleeds into the white tablecloth. It spreads pinkly.
Oh, that'll never come out with Sillet Bang. I leave for Rome tomorrow. I've got work to do. Ta-ra.
Exterior, the field in the outskirts of Lyon's night. Close-up of a huge pink moon. Ooh.
Hold your britches up, you dirty bugger.
Yeah. Maximus lies on his back in a field, his head resting on his breastplate. His breastplate gets used a lot for a pillow. His horse grazes beside him. He stares up at the moon and many stars above him. Exterior, Toledo Farm, afternoon, dream. Maximus's son, Marius, 7 years old, stands beneath the great poplar on the dirt road that leads to Toledo farmhouse. Marius waves, "Father!" The wind blows up. The great poplar bends and turns its leaves. "Father!" Within the sound of the wind, that was me, by the way, doing that voice. Within the sound of the wind, we hear many great horses galloping. The sound of the horses grows louder. Maximus grows in alarm, turns and begins to forward the farmhouse. The sound of the horses grows to a thunderous roar. Marius runs, looks over his shoulder, his face twisted in fear. Field on the outskirts of Lyon, sunrise. Maximus wakes with a start, face beaded in sweat. The thundering of the horses continues. He stands in the field and looks at the road that leads out of the Lyons. Maximus sees Lucius leading his 20 guards at a gallop down the road. Lucius rides, erect and rigid in his saddle.
Oh.
So we've had iron hard and erect and rigid. His pale eyes full of grim determination. Maximus stares after them as they disappear down the road in a cloud of dust. Skip the next thing, so it just says Maximus rides his horse. Maximus passes golden wheat fields. A warm wind blows through them.
Wheat fields.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Everyone?
Wheat fields.
I've run out.
Yeah, you top up. I've got loads to read, don't worry. A warm wind blows through them as they sway. Maximus reaches down and touches the tips of the wheat.
I remember such fields as these.
Suddenly and without warning, a small girl, 6 years old, covered in blood, bursts out of the wheat onto the road, her face a mask of terror. Maximus' horse rears. The young girl sees Maximus, turns in fright, and charges back into the wheat. Maximus follows after her, riding up the road along the edge of the wheat. At the top of the rise, Maximus turns sharply and follows the edge of the field along. He dismounts. The small girl crashes out the other side of the wheat, and Maximus scoops her up in his arms. The small girl looks at Maximus, her eyes bulging in her head in abject horror. Maximus hears a moan come from the wheat and finds 2 men and a woman, farm workers, trembling and cowering at the ground. The woman reaches up with shaking hands, and Maximus hands her the small girl. The woman takes the girl and shrinks back from Maximus.
I mean you no harm.
The 2 men and the woman tremble and shake.
What happened? Yeah.
The 2 men and the woman... Oh, no, I've done that. Maximus turns away from them and sees at the bottom of the rise a small river. Beside the river lies a slaughtered family. Maximus moves down among them. A small farmhouse smolders. A man and a woman lie, half in the river, half out, and the water runs red. An infant lies butchered by a tree. The young girl, leg streaked in blood, kneels by the river, her hands clasped together, bruised, face heavenward. She prays. Strung between 2 trees and a makeshift clothesline. White sheets flap in the wind. Upon one of them, the symbol of a fish has been painted in blood. Maximus, sword drawn, moves slowly around the carnage. The sheets flap. He parts them and moves through them. A figure stands before him. Maximus lifts his sword to strike. It is Mordecai.
Save your strength, Gladiator. I'm already dead.
Mordecai!
The gods allow me to return from time to time for services rendered, you see. But I suspect it's just to torment me.
Mordecai lifts his face up at the sun.
I wish I could feel that sun.
Mordecai looks at Maximus.
You can see me, others can't.
Maximus sheathes his sword.
What are you doing here?
You, my friend, have angered the gods. They have deemed you never return.
Return?
You know, to the other world.
I have seen that world. For now, my place is here.
Ever.
Mordecai looks around at the carnage. He looks at Maximus.
Look at these people. They have spent their days preparing for this moment with just a whisper of a hope in a better world, a world without end. They have laid the true prize of eternity to waste, their brief but beautiful lives.
I have witnessed the way these people are. They lay themselves before the sword like beasts. I must go. I must find my boy.
Mordecai laughs.
Your boy? He's no longer a boy. Oh, many years have passed since you died. Your son will be, a man.
A man? How can that be?
Well, time here rushes by, Maximus. In the other world, it crawls.
Then how will I know him?
You are his father. You will know him.
Can you tell me where he is?
He is in Rome. That's all I know. But I do know what he is.
Right. And what is that?
A lady boy.
Mordecai gestures at massacred Christians.
Look around you, Maximus. Have a
Maximus
guess.
looks around. The sheet flaps. Maximus looks to Mordecai. Mordecai has gone. Maximus gallops down the road through the open countryside. Pardon me. He stands on a hilltop, silhouetted by a dying sun. He looks out across the land, all bathed in gold. Maximus moves down the road at a pace. He passes a family, father, mother, 2 sons, in a horse and cart. Their meager possessions piled on the back of the cart, moving in the opposite direction. The family watch Maximus as he passes by. Exterior, plague village. Day. Maximus approaches the small village of crude houses. All right. Outside the village, 2 men sit by the side of the road. A rag held over their mouths and noses. Sound familiar? Satire. One of the men gestures to the deserted streets, and shakes his finger. The second man copies his gesture. Maximus nods and turns his horse away from the village, then stops and turns back. Maximus looks down at the second man.
Where did you go?
The second man pulls a rag from his face and smiles up at Maximus. It is Mordecai! The first man looks at Maximus, bewildered.
I was called back. They needed me there. More and more, they need me.
Mordecai stands and looks down at the village.
Yep, plague. We can go around.
Mordecai laughs.
No need for that, my friend. You're already dead.
Mordecai stands and begins to walk boldly onto the village. Maximus on horseback follows. Plague village, day. Maximus and Mordecai move through the village. It is eerie and silent. All the doors to the houses are closed, but eyes watch them through the broken slats of the windows. Dark figures huddle in doorways, their faces hidden in their robes. Rattle-boned dogs lope about. They pass a makeshift trailer of corpses.
Once again, I've chosen a pleasant day to visit you, Maximus. Look at that trailer of corpses. At least it's not raining.
Are these the beautiful lives of which you spoke?
They die. There is beauty in that. Loved ones grieve for their departed. Fathers bury their daughters. Wives bury their husbands and flood the earth with tears. Each life leaves a ripple of consequence. In the other world, time stretches on infinitely, robbing all action of meaning, of purport, of hope. And here I signify nothing. I could scream down the heavens and even the dogs would not hear me.
And I see I've caught you on a good day, Mordecai.
Nice one, Maximus. Maximus turns to Mordecai, and once again, Mordecai's gone.
It's like fucking Jeremy Beadle, isn't he?
Maximus continues to the village. As Maximus leaves the village, he sees a small boy sitting there in the dirt. Maximus draws closer. He looks down at the small boy. The small boy looks up at Maximus with his emaciated face, his deep sunken eyes. Maximus and the small boy stare at each other for some time, saying nothing. Thanks, Nick. Exterior, road to Rome. Maximus continues along the road, dust and hot sun. He looks down from his horse and sees a dying rhinoceros. Lying in the dust, barely breathing. Maximus looks further up the road and sees a large caged wagon tilting perilously on its side. He draws close to the wagon. The wagon has lost a wheel and lies shattered on the side of the road. An animal merchant, played by me, sits next to the wheel looking at it in a state of distress. Crammed in the caged wagon are 3 lions that lie in a heap. Have you seen me, rhinoceros? Maximus looks at the animal merchant and says nothing. I've thrown a wheel. I'm headed for Rome, the Colosseum. I fear these poor brutes will not survive the journey. Sir? Maximus continues on. moving past the wagon, the merchant, and the dying animals. Entrance to Rome, afternoon, just past tea time. Lucius enters Rome, tall and invincible in the saddle. His guards, weary and travel-worn, follow him. The streets throng with people. Roman
Hello.
civilians move out of the way, look at the admiration and respect at Lucius as his guards pass by. Children run alongside them. Two Christians, James and Justin, watch the procession nervously, then melt into the crowd. Interior classroom, Rome, afternoon. Cassian, the school teacher, 55 years old, stands at the front of his classroom teaching a group of 10 young men philosophy. The students look at Cassian, bored and with a trace of hostility. Marius, the son of Cassian, 23 years old, at the back of the class, listens attentively.
Odysseus bent his knees and sturdy arms, exhausted by his struggle with the sea. All his flesh was swollen, and streams of brine gushed from his mouth and nostrils, and blanks.
There is the sound of commotion of horses' hooves, and a ripple of excitement passes through the students. One student, Sardis, rises and rushes to the window.
Winded and speechless he lay there. Who's Sardis?
Oh, fuck, that one's empty. Me.
Right.
Well, go on
It is
then.
Lucius.
Cassian looks up and then slams his fist down on the table.
Back to your seat, Star.
Ignoring Cassian, the other students join Sardis, jostling each other at the window. They are excited and greatly impressed by what they see. Marius remains seated.
Return from Leon.
I said, back to your seat, you reprobates.
Reluctantly, the students return to their seats, eyeing Cassian with undisguised loathing. Cassian, stern and strong, stares down at the students, trembling with fury.
He lay there, too weak to stir, overwhelmed by a terrible fatigue.
Cassian continues to stare down at his students.
You may go.
The students stand and pour noisily out the classroom. Noisily. Cassian watches them leave, then bows his head. Marius remains seated, staring at Cassius. Sardis lingers at the door. Marius does not notice Sardis.
Father, he is back.
Cassian lifts his head and sees Sardis and raises one hand to silence Marius.
Can I help you, Sardis?
Sardis smiles insolently.
Thank you for the lesson, sir. It's been most interesting.
Sardis turns and leaves. Marius stands and walks to the front of the classroom. Marius looks grimly at Cassian.
What shall we do?
Cassian pulls at the collar of his robe unconsciously.
Alert the others.
Entrance to Rome, early evening. Maximus leads his horse through the darkening streets of Rome. Merchants have packed up their stalls. The crowds have gone. Oh, here's my big part, everybody. Interior inn, evening. Maximus enters the noisy inn. He moves through the revelers. An old drunken man, played by David Bowie, leaps to his feet and breaks out in verse. This is a song.
Yeah.
It's over, love. Look at me, pushing 50 now. Hair like grave grass growing in both ears. The piles and boggy prostate. The crooked penis. The sour taste of each day's first lie. The old drunken man breaks into a dance, and all the revelers laugh and cheer.
Do the dance.
Hey! The Maximus approaches the innkeeper, 40 years old. The innkeeper shouts above the noise.
Can I help you?
I need a room.
Oh, you're in luck, sir.
The innkeeper addresses his wife, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, show this man the room.
And some information.
At your service, sir.
The drunken old man has placed a stool, just like me, on one of the tables and is sitting on it, a soup bowl on his head and a wooden spoon in his hand. Like a mock emperor, a young reveller shoots to his feet.
Who's young reveller?
Hilarious,
young
young reveller.
I'll do it. Even on the loftiest throne, you must sit on your own arse.
The young reveller kicks to the stool, which topples, and the drunken old man tumbles down, falling to the ground on his rump. The roar goes up from the crowd. Hey!
I'm looking for a school teacher named Cassian.
Cassian? Oh, he's known around here and not much liked.
The innkeeper begins to take more interest in Maximus. He studies him closer, becoming more incredulous by the second.
He lives and teaches on the Brackets, look up the name of the road, end brackets.
Amazing.
Thank you.
This way, sir.
Maximus turns to follow Elizabeth. The innkeeper's hand shoots out and he grabs Maximus by the arm. Maximus turns to face him.
I know you. I've seen you.
You're mistaken.
The innkeeper shakes his head at his foolishness of his thoughts. He releases Maximus.
Right then. Oh, of course, you're right. No, off you go. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Maximus follows Elizabeth up the stairs. The innkeeper watches him as he retreats. In a small room above the inn, Maximus stares at the window, looking out. It's a good scene, that one. Deep in thought. Interior quarters of the Emperor Decius. Evening. The Emperor Decius, 60 years old, sits at a table. On the table is a shallow basket. Get ready for drink. In the basket is a silk cushion, and on the cushion lies a tiny spider monkey. Is it just death or just animals in general?
Just monkeys, any animals, yes. Death or yeah.
Decius sops a small piece of bread and a bowl of milk and tries to feed the monkey. The spider monkey is not well. Oh, he does this with great concentration. Lucius enters Decius's chamber. He moves through the room and stands before Decius.
Oh, sire.
Decius sops another piece of bread in the milk.
Oh, Lucius, you have returned.
Yes, sire, you sent for me.
Decius continues to tend to the monkey.
Oh.
Indeed, I did. You must be worn out from all your vigorous activity.
Oh, I've only this evening arrived.
Reports have come back from Lyons that concern me somewhat, Lucius. I believe my instructions were that you arrest the leaders and bring them back to Rome. It would appear your methods were somewhat overzealous.
My interpretation of your orders, sire. I mean, that was what you wished, wasn't it? The Christian movement quelled. You know, this I did.
Decius looks up for the first time.
Your interpretation of my orders? I hear you painted the streets of Lyon in their blood.
Decius examines Lucius. Lucius stands still.
Still, Lyon's Lyon and Rome is Rome, innit?
The monkey lets out a little squeak. Decius looks back down and strokes the monkey's head.
Look at this poor thing. It's blind and near to death.
May I speak plainly, sir?
He barely breathes.
Sire. Now listen, these Christians, these bloody atheists, they mock the empire and the divinity of the gods, sire. They're disrupting the order of things. Oh, they must be put...
True.
Sire?
I fear this is more personal.
Oh.
A knot of muscle works in Lucius's jaw and his pale eyes narrow.
Your dear mother, Lucille, did she not have certain sympathies with these people?
Lucius, stung, stiffens.
I can see you
Decius
stiffening.
strokes the monkey's head.
You could only stroke the head once it stiffened.
I fear for the empire, sir.
Decius looks up at Lucius and leans back in his chair.
Oh, this will be a long one.
Hear me, Lucius. Oh, as I'm sure you are aware, I've posted an edict to the citizens of Rome on the week of brackets, look up the date, end brackets. Each Roman family will be ordered to make a sacrifice under law to the gods. The Jews, of course, will be exempt. These Christians believe this sacrifice to be an affront to their so-called God. They will not participate in the ritual. They fear some kind of eternal damnation. This edict will effectively expose the Christians. A census will be taken and a list drawn up. Citizens not on the list will be arrested and tried according to the law. They will not be offered a chance to recant. Those who do not will be put to death in the Colosseum. Thus, Lucius, the gods will be appeased, the laws will be upheld, and the people will be entertained.
Sorry.
Well done, well done.
Decius moves forward and once again looks down at the monkey.
After all, it's not as if those Christians are a warring faction. It's not as if they've risen up against us.
Well, no, not yet, sire, but their beliefs strike at the very heart of all that is Rome.
Beliefs? And what are your beliefs, Lucius?
Lucius stands tall and then nods towards the basket.
Oh, I believe, sire, that your monkey is dead.
Decius peers closer into the basket. Monkey dead?
Monkey dead.
The monkey!
I ate that, Doc. A band of 20... Oh, this is Cassian's house, night. A band of 20 Christians, Cassian, Marius, Satyrus, James, and his brother Justin's house, and others, pack a small room in Cassian's house. The room is dim and shadowy in the candlelight. There is a great commotion as the band of Christians argue with one another, their voices rising up in anger, then dripping down to furtive whispers.
Paul wrote in this letter to us, shall trouble or hardship or prosecution separate us from the love of Christ? No. In all things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. Who's James? Oh, it's me. But the edict, Cassian, will be exposed, won't we? You know, what if our movement, we're all hunted down? What if our church, what if it's all put to the sword? Justin, it's me as well. Lucius, open brackets, last name, still hasn't fucking bothered. Do you know, I reckon he wrote this with his red right hand. This day has arrived in Rome in search of us. Oh, no, I'm no bloody doing Lucius's voice now. Hang on. Lucius, this day has arrived in Rome in search of us. We must make a stand. Cassian, for his sake, we face death all day long. Damn, why did you give me all these parts in this one scene? For his sake, we are considered as sheep to be slaughtered. Justin's right, Cassian. We must no longer fear the enemies of truth. We must challenge them. Yeah, and drive back the great serpent, the champion of the Antichrist, Lucius!
With what? Our bare hands?
There are many of us willing to fight to protect our church in Christ's name. Oh, yeah, the same Christ who tells us, love our enemy and pray for those who persecute us. And Mrs. Wogan.
The band of Christians descend back into the anger and confusion. The candles gather, throwing out their wobbly yellow light.
You will be hunted down and annihilated.
The band of Christians grow silent and turn to the sound of the new voice. Maximus stands enigmatically in the doorway. Cassian takes a candle and moves towards Maximus.
And who are you?
I am a messenger.
Maximus's eyes move around the crowded room.
And?
I was in Leon. I saw a mob massacre men just like you and wash the streets in their blood. I saw Lucius Bracket's last name behead an old man named Polyphemus. I saw slaughtered women and children.
A band of Christians begin to talk noisily.
Oh, wow, I didn't know even about it.
Polyphemus, the bishop of blank or blanks?
The former bishop of Leon.
We do not shudder at our own blood streaming forth.
That is not what I saw. I saw much shuddering and much streaming forth of blood.
Cassian, head bowed, turns and the light flickers.
I met a man named Irenaeus. He asked me to alert you to the arrival of Lucius Bracket's last name. He wanted me to tell you what I had seen.
Cassian turns around.
Oh, Irenaeus. Then you are a Christian.
I was a Roman soldier.
The crowd parts and Marius steps forward.
Then you served the devil himself.
Maximus sees Marius and reels back visibly from the shock. Marius, tall and powerful, is his father's son.
Marius.
Maximus looks into Marius's eyes.
You will die.
Marius passes Cassian and stands before Maximus. He looks Maximus full in the face.
And glory in it.
Maximus steps forward to his son. Marius holds him. Holds firm.
Leave this place, idolater. We have no use for you.
Maximus and Marius stare at each other. The band of Christians descend back into dispute and confusion. Streets of Rome, late night. Maximus moves through the dark and empty streets, a great silver moon above him. Maximus passes a Roman temple and walks beneath stone statues of the gods.
Dear, oh dear.
Maximus swings around to find Mordecai sitting on the stone steps of the temple.
Mordecai.
Clearly Hephaestus had a motive of his own for bringing you here.
Mordecai points to one of the statues of the gods. The statue is Hephaestus, standing strong and virile.
That's him up there, you know, in his more robust days. And there is the mighty Jupiter, now fat and old and cantankerous.
My son does not know me.
Of course not. Your son will have no recollection of you at all. Oh, but isn't he like his father?
Hang on, guys.
Yes?
Where did we get to?
Well, he is. Oh, but isn't he like his father? End bottom of page 46.
Thank you.
No
Come on,
worries.
Maximus, you've got a bloody lion here.
Right. Maximus moves suddenly towards Mordecai. Mordecai raises his hands.
My son does not even know me.
Mordecai disappears. Maximus sits down upon the steps. He looks up at the moon, the stars, his face twisted in anguish, the cold, graven images of the gods above him. This is Cassian's house, late night.
Shall we have an interval there?
Let's do an interval.
Yeah,
Let's
What
do
I
it.
ponder
having a
being
headphone problem.
Right, everyone
essentially
needs
Mr. Claypole.
Yeah,
Everyone have a wee.
yeah.
Right,
I
we
mean,
have a
refill.
We'll start off at scene 45.
Okay.
Oh dear.
Someone's saying apparently I need to put headphones in, but I don't own headphones.
Oh.
I have headphones.
Oh dear. I need to get some more wine.
We're still live, ladies and gentlemen.
We are still live, but I will just put on this for your delectation.
People for winning.
Right, I'm going for a wee.
Cosmetics for pretty girls like you. Leverett & Sons for the best selection of toiletries. Rizzler guys have got it together, so make it with Rizzler. At the Agra Indian restaurant, we select only the freshest of spices. At the Agra Indian restaurant, we use only the best quality meats and vegetables. We at the Agra bring you the very best of Indian cuisine. For that special functional wedding, the Agra Indian restaurant has excellent banqueting facilities. Experience a warm welcome and authentic Indian cuisine in luxurious surroundings, only at the Agra Indian restaurant. Kiora makes orange flamenco, lemon and lime cascade. Orange, lemon and lime from Kiora, a cool one and six.
Happiness is all around and it starts right here. With your feet on the ground, yes, everywhere you wear. There's a silent thought of happiness. Start off a brand new day with love in the air.
Third Revolution. Knitwear in crisp blends of terraline and linen. Trousers in terraline that will not crease. The new way to dress. Others that move with you. Routine for men. Shirts, patterns and colors like you've never seen. Printed by nylon. And crimpling for men. The new way to dress is in ICI fibers.
Something special. Really different. Tastes great. Frankie's spicy pork and beef sausage in a sesame seed roll. Topped with mustard, tomato, and fruity sauce. Frankie's, the super hot dog. On sale at the kiosk now. Frankie, from life.
This is it. The now designs for that shirt by Double Two. The latest new knitted. The greatest for color and style. That shirt is something else, and it's tapered to fit your body like skin. It's that shirt in Dacron cotton by Double Two International. Now on release.
Welcome to Sinbad, the latest tandoori in Great Yarmouth. Come and experience the atmosphere and the chef's 20 years of culinary expertise. Sinbad Tandoori Restaurant, 29 St. Peter's Road, Great Yarmouth.
Next time, cross the channel the streamlined way. It's fast. It's got style. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful day. We'll be traveling at 60 miles an hour, and we're expecting to cross in just 35 minutes.
Let's make it fast
You
now.
can buy drinks and duty fees on board, and there's a seat for every passenger. 2 copies to beer in Paris. And will you book lunch at Maximus?
Yes, of course.
And it makes more frequent crossings than anyone else. Hover speed, streamlining the channel.
Hello, we are back. Let's just unmute everyone. Oh, hang on. It started playing more adverts. My end. Right.
We're missing one again.
Just let me back in then.
Yay!
Yay.
Right, so I shall carry on from scene 45. Interior, Cassian's house. Late night. Cassian sits alone at his desk. The band of Christians have gone. He reads by candlelight. Deep in thought, Cassian rubs his face, then looks up to find Maximus standing in the doorway. In the yellow candlelit gloom, Cassian sighs and stands wearily.
Oh, what do you want with me?
I come as a friend.
You come like a thief in the night, under the cover of darkness. What's old Wogan to think? I've a few friends and many enemies, but come in. You say you're a friend. What's your name?
Maximus moves into the room.
My name is Maximus.
And mine is Cassian.
Cassian gestures to a seat.
Sit, Maximus.
Cassian sits back down at his desk. Maximus sits in front of him. Cassian gestures to the papers on his desk.
Oh, you must excuse the disarray. I was preparing for tomorrow's blank or blanks. I've the dubious honor of teaching a group of young men philosophy. It's ironic, really, all things considered.
Cassian moves things around on his desk.
My heart's not really in it. Well, no, it's not that. The soul is not really in it.
Cassian looks at Maximus.
Now, what is it that you want?
There is silence.
At the meeting, there was a young man.
I was enjoying that silence. Marius?
Yes, Marius.
Oh, has he offended you? Then I apologize. My son is somewhat hot-tempered.
Your son.
My adopted son. Again, sir. What is it that you want?
Maximus and Cassian look at one another in silence. Cassian leans forward.
Have you seen the inside of your heart? Has he called to you?
What?
Yes, I can see. He calls to you, does he not? He who believes in him shall live and never die. Speak, Maximus. There's no shame.
I saw a baby butchered by a river. Did that baby believe?
There's something worth dying for, Maximus.
There are some things worth fighting for.
What is it that you want, Maximus?
I can help you.
What? With that sword?
If need be.
If he strikes you on the right cheek, turn in the other also. I'm a man of peace.
And your son?
What of my son?
Will you drag him with you to the slaughter?
Cassian moves close to Maximus.
I ask you again. What is it that you want?
Maximus and Cassian stare at one another.
Ah.
Inn, late night. Inside the inn, the crowds have thinned. The drunken old man lies flat out on a table. Other revelers are sprawled around the inn in a state of disrepair. They all sing a song together. Ready?
The
Christian
Lions.
Lions.
Thank you for
Away to freedom.
And the Christians and the
Lions
Lions
around the Colosseum. Maximus,
That was gorgeous. Thanks.
that was really good, actually.
Yeah.
Maximus enters the inn, and the revelers stop singing. A wench nudges the drunken old man on the table. The drunken old man lurches up as he sees Maximus. Ye gods, woman, it is true, he walks. Thank you. Maximus walks through the revelers. They part for him in fear and awe, unwilling or unable to believe what they see. The innkeeper looks on, a frightened look on his face. A huge black man, Juba, 40 years old, standing in the corner, pays a special interest. Maximus passes through the crowd and disappears upstairs. A drunken reveler stands and shakes his head.
No, it's not him, Maximus. The gladiator was as big as a bear and had the arms the size of tree trunks.
Juba moves slowly towards the stairs. Interior room above inn, late night. Maximus sits on the edge of the bed. There is a furtive knock on the door. Maximus stands and walks slowly towards it.
Who's there?
A friend.
Maximus cautiously opens the door. Maximus stands face to face with his old gladiatorial friend, Juba. Juba stares down at Maximus in disbelief.
I don't know how to play this.
Racist. Play it very racist. Very racist.
Can I just do my voice?
Do Westphalian Farmer.
Westphalian farmer.
Yeah, go on.
My dad.
Yeah.
My dad, the massive black gladiator. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Oh, give me a minute. Oh. Okay. Oh, it's you, is it?
Juba!
Juba and Maximus embrace.
Do I embrace a ghost?
You embrace the public.
But how?
Maximus smiles, looks past Juba.
Juba, come in.
Exterior, street outside Juba's place, Rome, late night. Maximus and Juba sit in a doorway in a darkened moonlit street. They drink from a wineskin. They are a little drunk. For a time, they are silent.
That's not the all of it.
Juba takes the wineskin away from his mouth.
But there's more.
Juba grins broadly. Oh, I've done that. Maximus takes the wineskin.
There is a strange, melancholy ghost named Mordecai that follows me around.
A ghost?
Maximus, oh, sorry.
A ghost, yes.
Named Mordecai?
Mordecai is a melancholy.
Is he here, with us? Now?
Maximus drinks from the wineskin.
No, he comes and goes.
Maximus and Juba are silent. Then Juba grins and breaks into a laugh. Maximus looks at Juba and smiles.
Forgive me, friend, but truly, these are the kind of stories I tell my children.
You have children?
Oh, I do, yeah. Girls, Daphne and Teresa. Standard Roman names. 8 years old. And my wife, Maximus, she could shake the goddess Venus herself. I met her after I was freed. She's out. It seems I made quite the impression on her in the arena.
Then you have done well, my friend.
Juba stands unsteadily. There is a rumble of thunder and a light rain begins to fall.
Good. And I have my own business. Come, I'll show you.
Maximus stands, and together they move a little further down the street. As the rain grows heavier, Juba points to a darkened window above them.
Stay quiet. My wife. She sleeps.
Next to the house, the window is a large wooden door. Juba opens it. The door creaks loudly. As it swings open, Juba grimaces comically. Maximus and Juba enter through the door. Interior, the forge, Rome, late night. Juba lights a lamp, which throws its dim light over a blacksmith's workshop. A large furnace stands in the center of the workshop. Maximus and Juba step inside. Juba gestures at his surrounds.
I do well, Maximus. I take commissions from merchants, farm equipment mostly.
I'm happy for you, Juba.
Juba moves further into the workshop.
Maximus, I got something for you.
Juba moves back to the moves to the back of the workshop, reaches up and takes something off a shelf. He returns to Maximus. Juba hands Maximus something small, wrapped in a cloth. Maximus unwraps the cloth and looks down at the two totemic figurines of his wife and child from the first film. Maximus looks at them, touching them lightly with his hand.
I buried them in the ground at the Colosseum not long after you...
Died?
Yeah. But not long ago, I had the Emperor intended to flood the Colosseum, fill it with water, for a spectacle involving
Alligators.
Yeah.
For a spectacle involving alligators. It seems the numbers were dwindling. The public has grown weary of seeing these damn Christians born upon lions.
Yeah.
The Emperor was after something more uncustomary, something exotic.
Maximus looks at Juba.
So I went there and retrieved them.
Maximus wraps his hand around the figurines.
Thank you, my friend.
A door on the other side of the forge opens and Juba's wife, Camilla, 35 years old, appears in the doorway. Camilla is a tiny, pretty, stern and dressed in her bedclothes. She holds a lamp.
Juba! Yes, my dear.
Maximus looks across the workshop at the pale and tiny Camilla and looks at the black giant Juba. Maximus smiles.
Your wife?
Juba nods sheepishly.
Her brain boggles.
Juba smiles.
Who are you talking to?
Go back to bed, woman.
I will not go back to bed. Whoever it is, you send them away and come inside. It's late.
Maximus embraces Juba.
Goodbye, my friend.
Oh, goodbye, Maximus. Will I see you soon?
Yeah.
Maximus nods and exits the forge into the rain. Juba pulls close the door, then looks at Camilla standing in the doorway, glowing in the lamplight. Juba smiles.
Coming, dear.
Interior room above the inn, late night. Maximus stands on his room. He takes the figurines from the pouch, looks at them. He returns the figurine of his son to the pouch, then places the figurine of his wife on a table before him. He kneels down in front of it. He closes his eyes in prayer.
May the gods protect.
Maximus stops praying. He remains on his knees. He reaches out and picks up the figurine of his wife and squeezes it in his palm. He presses his fist against his head, his face full of rage and sorrow. Outside, we hear the rain.
Oh, Maria.
Interior, Lucius's abode, Rome, night. Lucius sits on the balcony of his bedroom. With his pale eyes, he stares out of the rain-drenched city below him. With one long finger rested on the top of his hilt of his dagger, the tip on the table, he touches the handle so that the knife spins slowly around. On the edge of his bed behind him sits a young girl, barely visible in the yellow and melancholy light. Naked, knees together, silent. Exterior, Lucius's abode, Rome, day. The rain has stopped and the sun has risen above Rome. Lucius marches down the steps of his abode. All business. 4 guards loiter around the entrance with horses. In the wet and steaming street, the guards draw attention to Lucius as he approaches. One of the guards holds Lucius's black stallion, which is saddled and ready. Lucius points to 2 of the guards.
Oh, I had a bloody weird dream last night. I was doing a shit film. Now, you, come with me.
Lucius swings into his saddle. The guards mount their horses. Lucius rides off, and the two guards following.
Oh, I'm sitting the wrong way.
Exterior, street outside schoolhouse, day. Maximus stands on the street near the schoolhouse. People bustle by. The door to the schoolhouse opens, and Sardis walks into the street, followed by the other students. Sardis talks to 3 students who move off and turn a corner. Out of sight. Maximus watches all of this. A few moments pass, then Marius exits the schoolhouse alone and moves down the street, his head bent, deep in thought. He turns the corner. Marius looks up and sees Sardis and the other 3 students waiting for them. They block Marius's way. Marius stops in his tracks and faces them.
Tell us about your Jesus, atheist. Tell us about the gloomy little criminal you worship.
Marius makes to move forward. Sardis grabs Marius by the collar and pushes him roughly up against the wall.
Tell us about your beggar Christ that calls down curses on the very gods themselves.
Marius looks Sardis in the eye.
He is with me now.
Sardis slaps Marius viciously across the face. His cheek smarts red.
When? I don't see him.
Marius continues to look Sardis in the eye and then slowly turns his face.
He is with me now. He is all around.
Sardis slaps Marius with even greater savagery. Marius, stung, eyes watering, mouth trembling in rage, stares back at Sardis.
What? No cheek left to turn?
Sardis headbutts Marius, then lets Marius slide down the wall. Marius crumples in a heap.
Ooh, Christian dog.
Sardis spits at Marius, who begins to rise to his feet. The other 3 students push down at Marius with their feet. They look up to find Maximus standing in front of them. Sardis moves forward and looks at Maximus.
What do you want?
With one quick punch, Maximus breaks Sardis' nose. The 4 students stand motionless in shock. Marius climbs to his feet and looks at Maximus.
No.
Sardis, his nose broken, backs away. The other students follow. They move off. Maximus stands before Marius. Maximus and Marius stare at one another. House of Simon, Rome, day. A man, Simon, 45 years old, sits in a chair, his face beaten horribly. Blood streams from his nose and cups above his eyes. Towering over him is a guard, sweating, his knuckles barked. Lucia sits in a chair, lean and virile. Sitting across the room is Rachel, Simon's wife, 35 years old. Her face is a mask of despair. The other guard stands by her. Lucian looks at Simon, enjoying himself.
Oh, now I ask you again, your leader's name.
Simon looks into the eyes of his wife, Rachel.
Look at me.
Simon's eyes shift and stare at Lucius. Simon says nothing. Lucius nods to the guard. The guard strikes Simon with a great force.
Oh.
Simon reels back from the blow, rights himself, but still Simon says nothing. Oh, this is me, isn't it? Mummy! Everybody turns in unison and looks at the door leading to the rest of the house. Standing in the doorway is Luke, 7 years old. He is dressed in his bedclothes, his hair tousled, sleep in his eyes. Lucius leans forward in his chair and smiles.
Oh, look, a child.
Rachel tries to stand, but the guard presses down on her shoulder.
Go to your room.
Lucius, strong and handsome in his uniform, leans forward with his pale blue eyes and looks at the boy.
Come to me, boy.
The boy looks at Lucius, terrified, but entranced. Lucius smiles.
Come to me.
The boy moves tentatively towards Lucius.
Child, go to your room.
Rachel begins to sob uncontrollably. The boy moves forward.
Oh, a fine boy.
The boy reaches Lucius. Lucius takes hold of the boy gently.
Now, what is your name?
Luke! Lucius leans close to the boy.
Look at your father, Luke. He is scared.
Lucius takes out his dagger and mock jabs it at Simon.
Boo. See? Scared.
Simon looks back at Lucius, trembling with fear and rage. Lucius gives the knife to Luke.
Here. You do it. Scare your father.
The boy looks into Lucius's eyes.
Go on.
The boy mock jabs the knife in the direction of his father. Boo! Rachel sobs and moans.
And then says her line.
Oh, fuck. Sorry. His name is Caspian. Cassian, the school teacher.
Lucius sheathes the knife and runs his fingers through the boy's mop of hair.
Good boy.
Cassian's house, Rome, day. Marius sits on a chair holding a rag against his nose. Maximus stands nearby. Light streams through the window of the sparse abode. Maximus and Marius are silent for a time.
For a fucking time.
I suppose I should thank you.
What you should do is hold your head back. It will staunch the flow of blood.
Ah. I've seen my lines this way. But I cannot thank you. In the Garden of
Gethsemane, yes.
Yeah, thank you. In the Garden of Gethsemane.
Gethsemane, yes.
Yes, Gethsemane, yes.
Right next door to IKEA.
In the Gardens of Gethsemane, when the soldiers came to arrest Christ, his disciple, Simon Peter, attacked one of the guards. Christ berated him, saying, "Put your sword back in its place, for those who draw the sword will die by the sword." Christ teaches us that violence begets violence, and once it begins, there is no end to it.
I know nothing of this. I saw a young man outnumbered and I acted accordingly.
But why? Conduct my life is no business of yours.
I was a soldier in the Roman army. I stood shoulder to shoulder with men of conviction and valor who fought, often to the death, for something they believed in. That they would lay down their weapons, kneel in the mud, and give themselves up to the enemy's sword. What meaning is there in that?
Well, you did not answer my question. Why are you here? What do you want?
Maximus and Marius stare at one another. Maximus walks to the window.
My father told me you came to see him. You seem to have made something of an impression on him.
Your father loves you very much.
My father is a teacher and a wise man. I've learned much from him. Do you know the story of the Apostle Paul? He brought down much havoc on the Christians, but on the road to Damascus, he saw blinding light and heard the voice of Jesus. He converted and became Christ's chosen instrument. And my father says that there is often great anguish and affliction before one can step from the darkness into the light. And his voice. Are you touched by this story?
Maximus turns from the window and looks at Marius.
Why should I be?
Oh, my father was referring to you.
While your father is telling you stories, there is a man preparing to pour out our blood like water. He will not just slap your face, Marius. He will knock out your brains. He will welter in your own blood.
Marius brings the rag up to his nose.
God's will be done.
Your God does not seem to have your greater interests at heart.
Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." That is my faith.
Maximus turns his back to the window. They are silent.
I once had a son. We lived on a farm in Toledo. My son was put to death. His little body hung from a tree in a field. Hang on. He was 7 years old. He was too young to afford the luxury of faith, except to believe that one day he would see his father come back from war.
Maximus turns to Marius.
He never did.
What was your boy's name?
His name was Marius.
Marius looks at Maximus and smiles sadly. Maximus returns it and nods.
Yes, and like you, he had a stubborn streak.
Maximus steps forward.
Listen to me, Marius. Cassian.
Oh,
sorry.
Cassian?
Marius?
Maximus and Marius turn to see Cassian standing in the doorway. Cassian looks at Marius, who holds the bloody rag to his nose, then looks to Maximus.
Marius! What's happened here?
Marius brings down the rag. He smiles.
It's nothing, Father. I had a little trouble. Maximus assisted me.
I must go.
Assisted you? What trouble?
Maximus turns and moves towards the door. Maximus turns and looks at Marius.
Goodbye.
Marius nods at Maximus. Maximus enters the room into the street. Cassian stares at him. Marius brings the rag back to his nose and tips back his head. Exterior street, Rome day. Maximus walks down a street. Crowds jostle by, the sun overhead.
Well done.
Maximus stops and turns. Mordecai is beside him.
What do you want, Mordecai?
It appears that to save the soul, one must deny what is in one's very heart.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
One must reject the most natural of instincts.
Speak sense, Mordecai, or don't speak at all.
Maximus continues to walk down the street. Mordecai tags along.
I'm speaking about your son.
What?
In spite of himself, he's warming to you. Don't you see?
I see a young man about to put his head in the jaws of a lion.
Speaking of which, Maximus, are you going?
Going where?
Mordecai stops walking. Maximus continues on. Mordecai throws out his arms.
To the games, Maximus! To the games!
Exterior, Decius' private zoo. Rome day.
Get ready to drink.
Few drinks here. Ready? Decius stands in the muddy surrounds of a private zoo. About him are cages of monkeys, some lions, an antelope, a couple of hyenas.
Hang on, monkeys, lions.
Hang on. There's a pen with a chained elephant.
Few lions.
So drink, everyone.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
The zoo is dismal and grim, and the beasts look disconsolate and ill-tended. Decius appears distressed. Two workers tie a large tarpaulin onto a cart. Lucius walks towards Decius through the steaming mud. The sun beats down.
Oh, what a lovely macaque. I need to speak with you, sire.
Decius, his face pale and spooked, turns towards Lucius.
The portents, Lucius, the portents.
Sire?
Decius turns back to look at workers at the cart.
This is not a good day.
Lucius moves towards Decius.
Well, I have the leader's name.
Leader? Which leader?
Oh, the leader of the Christian movement in Rome. He's a school teacher named Cassian.
Do you think the gods are angry, Lucius? Do you think the gods are angry with me?
The two workers begin to pull the cart, moving it through the mud. Decius and Lucius observe it as it approaches.
That hyena is sniffing its own doings. I see a great cataclysm moving towards us. I think we must act now, and with conviction.
The two workers pull the cart past Decius and Lucius. We see the hoofed legs of a giraffe sticking out from under the tarpaulin. Decius looks on mournfully.
Giraffe?
Look! Last night, that thunderstorm!
Oh, sire, what?
My giraffe got struck by lightning!
Drink!
Sire, please, just grant me permission to get out of this film, but also to arrest this man.
You can't, it's a giraffe, it's not a man! He's dead! What are you thinking? It was audible, most audible!
Decius turns to Lucius.
Remember the edict, Lucius?
Oh, sire, these Christians, they grow bloody stronger by the day.
Decius begins to walk. He stops at the monkey cage. Lucius follows.
Okay, no.
Will I see you at the games, Lucius?
Oh, of course, sire.
It will be quite the spectacle.
Yes, and this school teacher, sire?
Decius continues to look through the bars of the monkey cage.
Arrest him, then.
Thank you, sire.
Lucius turns to move away.
And Lucius?
Lucius stops and turns to Decius.
Sire?
Just that. No more.
As you wish, sire.
Lucius turns and moves away. It's a good stage direction. Lucius continues to look in on the monkey cage with Robin Ince. The Forge, Rome day. Maximus helps Juba, yay, in his workshop. Juba, shirtless, his muscles rippling, fires up the furnace with a great pair of bellows. The fire roars, both men sweat in the heat. Juba shouts over the noise of the furnace.
Oh, I received a commission today.
Maximus throws coals into the furnace.
Oh, I'm an official capacity.
Juba squeezes the bellows, the flames roar, the two men shout.
A commission for what?
Juba kicks the door of the furnace shut with his foot. It clangs and the noise abates.
Factors, Maximus. Leg irons.
Maximus looks at Juba. Juba looks at Maximus.
100 pairs.
Juba picks up a large skin of water and pours it over the sleek black head. He drinks from the skin and then throws it to Maximus. Maximus drinks.
Oh, I still carry the scars from them.
As do I.
What money, my friend?
Juba pulls at a lever. That draws a heavy chain connected to a metal tray towards the furnace. He grunts as he does it.
Is money.
Juba releases the lever. The chain slackens. The tray rests at the mouth of the furnace.
I saw my son again today.
Juba stops working and stands and faces Maximus.
Oh,
What do you know about the Christians?
me? Not much. Yes, I'm a Christian.
Yes.
What is it they say? No rain, blame the Christians. Rain, blame the Christians. These are dangerous times, Maximus.
Were there ever any other way?
Juba piles lumps of metal onto the tray.
What shall I do?
Juba drags the chain that lifts the tray. He locks the winch and stops.
Strength of purpose, Maximus. Your son must possess that.
He does. He is a strong young man.
Then perhaps he should be allowed to live his own life.
Juba kicks open the door of the furnace. The fire roars. Maximus stares into the flames.
Stunning.
Stunning writing. Interior, Cassian's house, Rome, morning. Cassian and Marius sit at the table. They are eating. Cassian breaks a lump of bread and passes it to Marius. There is a silence between them. After a time, Cassian leans forward and addresses Marius.
Oh, remember when I found you, Marius?
My memory is dim, Father. I was 7 years old, but I have heard you tell the story many times.
All those dying children, and you walking through the halls of the hospital, untouched, like you were protected from the pestilence, looking for your mother.
Father,
Oh, I knew you were exceptional from the moment I saw you.
Father,
No, your mother, you prick. I knew great good would come from you.
what is troubling you, Father?
I had a dream last night.
A dream.
I saw you in a field, a wheat field. You were engulfed in a great darkness.
Father,
Oh, yeah, Wheatfield.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, wheat field. Freaking
We were doing
wheat
that.
field.
Cassian leans forward and grabs Marius by the wrist.
Hold true, Marius.
Marius stares at Cassian.
Father,
Cassian stares into Marius's eyes. He leans still forward.
Hold true.
Marius and Cassian stare at one another. What an odd scene. Interior classroom, Rome, midday. Cassian sits at the front of his classroom. He teaches 10 students. Sardis has a bandage across his nose. There is an obvious tension in the room. Marius sits at the back of the class. Cassian recites Horace. The student goes skiing. The students scratch notes with their pens.
What god can the people call as the empire taught us? What prayer shall the virgin priestesses use to employ Vesta? Who leans away from their chants and listens less and less?
Cassian stops reading.
What is Horace saying here?
The students look at Cassian. There's nothing. As the door bursts open and Lucius enters, three guards. Lucius, handsome in his uniform, moves to the front of the class, and Cassian makes the stand.
What is this?
Lucius pushing down on Cassian.
Oh, stay where you are, old man, and do not move. You come here for me, in my place of work. I insist you leave.
Cassian again attempts to stand. Again, Lucius pushes him down roughly and leans in close, drawing a finger to his lips. Lucius reaches down, tears open the neck of Cassian's robe, and yanks free the fish symbol Cassian wears on a thong around his neck. The students watch Lucius in a mixture of terror and awe. Marius sits at the back of his seat, pale and silent.
You are students, are you not? Scholars? Learned young men? Then answer me this.
Lucius leans forward, stares at the students with his pale eyes.
Does Rome stand deep fixed and deathless as in the time of the great Caesars?
Lucius extends his arm and raises his eyebrows questioningly.
No, I think not. Does she prowl the world, hungry and fearless and all-powerful? Again, I think not. Do the gods sit mighty and well-pleased in the heavens and bestow on her just rewards? No, and again, no, I think not.
Lucius holds out the fish symbol for the students to see.
Rome weeps, and this little fish swims in her tears.
Lucius lets the symbol swing as he addresses the students.
Oh, a little fish, hidden around an old man's neck.
Lucius begins to walk among the students, swinging the symbol.
Oh, the earthquakes that have ripped this mighty empire asunder. Charge this little fish. The infernal plagues and the disease, all the hellish pestilence that ravages our land. Here, charge this little fish.
Lucius passes Sardis and looks on. Sorry, who looks on in veneration?
The droughts, oh, and the terrible floods that have devastated the provinces. The fish. The little fish.
Lucius leans over Marius and swings the symbol before his eyes. Marius sits rigid.
The mad weather. The diabolical rage of the gods. I say again. Oh, charge this fish.
Lucius returns to the front of the classroom.
And charge the one that wears it. Oh, this man here spits into the eyes of gods themselves. He's the enemy of us all.
Lucius grabs Cassian by his hair and pulls back his head so that Cassian stares up into Lucius's hate-filled face.
Go on, deny it.
Cassian looks into Lucius's pale eyes but says nothing.
Deny it! Oh, Lord, forgive this man.
Lucius trembles with rage. Cassian stares into Lucius's eyes.
I knew your mother. She was a good one, and she's with God now and all his little angels.
Lucius's face twists in fury. Marius stands.
Finally!
Marius.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that'll do.
Page 74.
What? 24?
Yeah.
74.
Fuck me, if it was 24, it would be fucked.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
74.
right. Father.
That's it.
Lucius scoops up Cassian's pen in his fist. Cassian looks at Marius.
Oh, Cassian, my son. You dog.
Lucius raises the pen above his head and buries it in Cassian's neck. Blood pumps out. Lucius stands over Cassian, opens his arms, and calls forth the students.
Come.
The students, led by Sardis, surge forward and stab Cassian to death with their pens. Marius stands at the back of the classroom, paralyzed with horror. Lucius looks up and points to Marius with one bloody finger.
Oh, like an episode of Points of View. Seize him!
Marius leaps from his seat and rushes at the door. The guards scrabble. Double point score. To lay hold of him, Marius flees.
Oh, I said bloody seize him!
The three guards exit the classroom in chase of Marius. Streets of Rome, midday. Marius charges into the street. He pushes his way past pedestrians. The three guards follow hot on his heels. Marius turns down a smaller street and the guards follow. Marius runs into an empty square surrounded by stone benches. A man lies asleep on one of them. There are 7 olive trees and a fountain in the center. Marius stumbles. The guards pour into the square. Marius rights himself. He looks to the left, to the right. The 3 guards grab hold of Marius, and Marius struggles.
Let him go.
The 3 guards turn to see Maximus standing at the entrance of the street from which they have just come. The 3 guards turn to face Maximus. Maximus draws his sword. The 3 guards move forwards towards Maximus. Maximus moves towards the guards. They fight, and Maximus cuts them down. The 3 guards lie dead around the fountain. Marius stands speechless. Maximus sheathes his sword and grabs Marius.
Come!
No, it's just blood. Marius stands at the dead guards, frozen with fear.
Come!
No, it's blood. Maximus leads Marius away. Lucius enters the garden square. Lucius looks at the 3 guards sprawled dead around the fountain, under the 7 olive trees. Lucius sees Maximus and Marius before they disappear into the adjoining street. He stares out with his pale eyes, a knot of muscle working in his jaw. The sleeping man sits up on the stone bench. It is Mordecai.
No.
Mordecai surveys the scene.
Dear, oh dear.
I love Mordecai.
Watch
I
out!
love you.
Mordecai's about! Watch out! Mordecai's about! You
Has to
better
be
watch
said.
out!
I've thought of a new drinking game, but maybe it's too late.
Oh, come on.
bullshit.
Every time Mordecai sort of appears unexpectedly,
To drink.
Yeah, we drink.
Just
you
drink
drink. Every time Mordecai appears unexpectedly, you drink.
Okay,
drink
that's the
it.
rule now, everybody. Interior
Yeah.
of the forge, Rome, afternoon. Inside the workshop, Marius sits with his head in his hands. Maximus stands close to him. Juba, hey, pulls close the door. Pulls close. He's put closed, but it's pulled closed. The doorway, workshop door, and goes to the window and looks out into the street. There is a heavy silence, but for the shut furnace, which roars softly. After a time, Marius raises his head and looks up at Maximus.
I did nothing.
Tell me what happened, Marius.
What happened? I sat there in fear and I did nothing.
Tell me.
Well, they slayed my father and I ran.
Marius.
Marius stands and grabs hold of Maximus, his face twisted in rage.
And I loved my father.
You're alive, Marius.
Marius releases Maximus.
All these hollow words I've uttered. Senseless, empty prattle.
Marius moves towards the door of the workshop. Marius turns to Maximus.
My father told me something this very morning. He said, hold true. Oh, Father, forgive me.
Marius wrenches open the door to the workshop. Maximus moves after him.
Wait.
Juba takes Maximus by the arm as Marius exits.
Let him go, Maximus.
Sorry, Juba's my favourite character in the whole film.
There's a lot of people in the feed who are pitching spin-offs just for Juba. But I think he has
exterior there, outside the classroom, Rome afternoon. A crowd has grown on the street around the classroom. A horse-drawn trailer stands outside. Marius pushes through the crowd and watches as two civilians carry the body of Cassian out of the showroom for El Dorado and load it onto the trailer. Lucius, grim-faced, stands by the trailer. Marius, hidden in the crowd, watches Lucius. Marius turns and disappears back into the crowd. The forge, late afternoon. Maximus and Juba sit in the workshop. There is a hammering on the door, and Maximus and Juba stand. Juba pulls open the door. Marius steps inside. Marius stands before Maximus.
You said that you could help us. How?
I'm a soldier. I can teach you to fight.
Then the time is now.
There are other options.
I see none.
You could leave this place, go elsewhere.
As we speak, they are wheeling the corpse of my father away. I failed him once, I will not fail him again.
Maximus.
Old Wogan's dead. Fare thee well.
Goodbye, Terry. Interior, so Maximus stares at Marius. Juba looks furtively out of the window. Lucius's abode, interior, room, Rome evening. Lucius stands in a room. The walls of the room are hung with a collection of swords and various implements of war. There are marble busts of emperors. Upon one bust is a breastplate of Maximus. Lucius stands in front of the bust and stares at the breastplate. The room is lamplit, a haunted look on his face. Exterior, street, Rome, morning. The streets teem with people, vendors, civilians, all walking in one direction. There is much commotion and excitement. Maximus and Marius push through the crowds in the opposite direction. They enter an open stable. The horse trader is locking a door.
My horse!
The horse trader continues to lock the door. He does not look up as he speaks. Not today! I am closed! Today I go to the games! The horse trader stands and looks at Maximus. His gnarled face freezes in fear. He backs away. Yes, sir.
And one other.
The horse trader continues to back away. Yes, sir. The horse trader disappears amongst the horses. Marius looks at Maximus.
He fears you. Why?
I suspect he thinks I'm someone else.
The horse trader returns with two horses, his face spooked. The horse trader gives the reins to Maximus. His hands shake as he does so. Road on the outskirts of Rome, midday. Maximus and Marius ride their horses down a dusty, empty road. They ride them hard. The sun beats down. Maximus and Marius draw to a halt. There is a road that veers off and leads to a farm.
You ride well, Marius.
Yes, I always have known how.
Marius points to the farm.
There. The farm is there.
Marius and Maximus move their horses down the road to the farm. Standing in front of the farmhouse are James and his brother Justin, who walk towards Maximus and Marius as they approach. The Colosseum, Rome, midday. The Colosseum teems with people. The people scream and cheer and shout as the carnage they witness in the arena. I like Colosseum.
Lads.
Oi Savoy. The crowds at the arena, the grounds in the arena become flooded. In a 4 foot of water, a naval battle ensues.
Oh, my navel! Ow, my navel!
The water rolls with 100 alligators that have been released in the water.
Alligators.
Alligators? Yeah.
Lucky I have nothing to get up for.
And I'm out of alcohol, so that's good.
Oh, just mine.
Like, someone fax me something.
You have to move on to heroin.
No, I'm fresh out. Where was I? Alligators. Released in the water. Gladiators fire arrows, throw spears, launch fireballs as the two vessels approach one another. Christians kneel on the decks, hands clasped in prayer. Some Christians, impaled on spears and arrows, fall from the vessels and are torn apart by the alligators.
Christians? Alligators?
This is like Radio 4. Decius and his retinue watch as the retinue. Sorry, everyone. Watch the proceedings with blood-hungry delight. Decius rises to his feet and cheers as a fireball explodes on the deck of one of the vessels. Lucius makes his way through the retinue towards Decius. Decius sees Lucius and beckons him over.
Look about you, Lucius. Look, the people are all pleased.
A roar goes up as the two vessels collide and the gladiators leap from one vessel to the other, hacking and thrusting their spears.
Oh, we must speak, sire.
Speak? Now?
Decius laughs. The crowd roars.
Now?
Oh, it's a matter. Oh, no. Pat bloody down, everyone. Listen, it's a matter of great urgency, sire.
A matter of what?
Great urgency, sire. You're definitely post. They're rising up against us.
Who are rising up? The Christians are revolting.
The Christians, sire, preemptively got your line.
Another great roar goes up as one of the vessels begins to tip, and the Christians and gladiators alike slide across the deck and fall screaming into the water. The water churns with blood and death. Decius points to the terror-crazed scene before him. He laughs, high-pitched and hysterical.
Them rise up!
Listen, I've got 3 dead guards who pay testament to that.
They killed your god, the Christians.
3 of them, sire, slain.
Another roar goes up. Decius cranes to see the carnage. Decius looks at Lucius.
The day is drawing close. The Roman citizens must honour the edict.
Give me their names, sire.
You will have them. Then you may do as you will.
The frenzied crowd cheers. The victorious gladiators stand on the deck of the remaining vessel. Hey! Hey! Brandishing their weapons in the air. He spelled there wrong. Nick Cave. Decius claps half-heartedly, his jubilant mood gone. He sits down. Mordecai!
Hello.
Sits beside him. Lucius sits down and leans towards Decius.
Mordecai slips gently out of the anus of a lion. There is more, sire.
Decius sighs. Mordecai leans in closer to hear.
A man helps him.
A man?
Yeah, he was there in Lyons, but I've seen him before. Many years ago.
Where?
Here.
Decius gestures around him.
Here?
He was a gladiator.
And?
He was Maximus Meridius.
Maximus Meridius? He's dead. I saw him die.
Yeah, thanks for correcting me. I know. So did I.
Decius looks
Your
out.
bloody eyes.
Decius looks out with a spooked face. Lucius stands, pat down his uniform. Mordecai leans away, his elbows raised, his eyebrows even raised, questioning.
Querulously.
Interior, farm of James outside Rome afternoon.
Right.
Maximus, Marius, James, and Justin stand in a room in the farmhouse. James embraced his Marius.
We're sorry to hear of your father, Marius. He were a great man.
Thank you, James. Thank
Justin
you.
embraces Marius.
He is with God now.
Marius turns and moves to a window. He looks out.
Yes, he is, but we are not.
He turns and faces James and Justin.
We are here on Earth, and our business is not done.
Dozens more have died today in the Colosseum.
And you will continue to die.
James and Justin look at Maximus.
And who are you?
He's a friend.
Oh, a friend.
He saved my life. His name is Maximus. He can be trusted.
Justin moves forward towards Maximus.
Oh, yo, we saw you before, didn't we, at the meeting? You are a soldier.
How many of you are there?
How many?
How many of you are there that are willing to fight?
James and Justin look at each other.
Yeah, it's too late for that. You forget the edict.
Edict?
Yes, in 20 days, each citizen must make a sacrifice to the gods. Those who fail to do this will be rounded up. We Christians will become more of a blood sport for the mob. Oh, it's me again. Our faith is well tested. Some have already left Rome, but there's nowhere to run. The emperor has sworn to impose the edict throughout the empire.
Marius turns to the window again.
Then we have little choice.
You can fight or you can die.
James and Justin look at Maximus.
How many are you?
Oh, well, we're strong men, but we're not soldiers, like. We have no weapons.
Maximus turns from the window and moves across the room and stands by... Marius turns from the window, moves across the room and stands by Maximus.
How many are you?
James and Justin look at Maximus and Marius.
Why don't they just fucking call this film The Window? That's all they fucking do is look out of a window and look back from a window.
Because room of the view was taken. Interior of the forge, Rome day. The door to the forge is shut by daylight, but the daylight streams through the window. Juba raises high his hammer and pounds at his anvil. Justin hammers at one beside him. Marius drops a red-hot piece of metal into cold water and it hisses violently. Maximus works with him. There is great concentration and industry. The metal clangs, the fire roars. Maximus and Marius sit alone late at night. In the forge, the lamp is lit. In the dim light, there is evidence of spears and swords, arrowheads that have been forged. Maximus and Marius sit together in the gloom. Marius picks up a sword and holds it in his hand.
I am wondering what my father would have thought of this.
That sword can save your life, Marius.
Conversation continues. Lucius moves to the back of the forge. He was very interested in that scene. Moves to the back of the forge and lies down on a pallet on the floor. Maximus turns to see Mordecai leaning on the furnace. Mordecai turns around him and the piles of weaponry.
Planning on spilling a little blood, my friend?
Will you hold me all my days?
Until eternity itself has said its prayers.
Mordecai smiled gloomily. Maximus looks away. Marius sleeps.
Sorry, how do you smile gloomily?
I don't know. Exterior, farm of James, outside Rome, morning.
This should have been called Windows 95 BC. So,
the field
That's a good
beside...
drinking game. Every time they mention a window, you have a drink.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't got any drinks left.
No.
Because of the animal.
Keep going.
Also, that might kill
The
you.
animal. In a field beside the farmhouse, 200 Christian men have amassed and stand in a rough formation. Maximus moves past them. Looking at their faces, they stare back. Young, old, and in between, with a grim determination. Juba stands by a trailer. He pulls back a canvas sheet to reveal a pile of spears and swords. Interior, brothel. Rome night.
Yay.
Lucius. Lucius.
Here we go.
Everybody go.
Carry on prodding.
Lucius lies in a large sunken marbled bath. The room is dim and in the yellow lamplight. Steam curls out of the water. A female attendant stands statue-like beside the bath. Will she have a line? No. Holding a large jug of water.
2 jugs.
Against an opposing wall. Young, naked, motionless, knees together, Lucius stares out. A knot of muscle working in his jaw. All is still in the room. All is quiet. Sire? Lucius looks to the door.
Oh, enter.
A guard enters the room, stares out, does not look at Lucius.
Through a window.
Still window, yeah. Speak.
We have found out where he is hiding, sire. Lucius nods.
Hang on,
The
that's
guard
the brothel scene. That's the entire brothel scene.
That's the entire brothel scene.
Blood.
I did it in Welsh, so I should get some points. Lucius nods. The guard exits. Lucius stares out, and all is as before.
Oh, what a small brothel scene.
Exterior, farm of James, outside Rome, day. It is the field beyond the farmhouse. There is great activity as the 200 Christians fire arrows, throw spears at a wall, and straw bales. They bring down their swords. Maximus and Juba move among them, preparing them. Interior, the forge, Rome, day. The door to the forge is shut again. Juba hammers at a sword with his hammer. Again, he's making war weapons. The door opens and daylight streams into the dim interior. Juba brings down his hammer with a great clang, but he does not look up.
Maximus?
Juba brings down his hammer again. Sparks fly on the metal. Juba looks up into the light. Lucius looks back, lit and silhouetted. Juba squints at the figure.
Maximus?
Exterior, street between the stable and the forge, evening. Maximus, who has left his horse at the stable, walks along the street but toward the forge. The horse trader stands outside the stable and watches Maximus walk away, his face fearful.
The whole of Rome speaks of you.
Maximus continues walking.
Let them talk.
Mordecai moves up beside Maximus.
They say you are the great gladiator returned from the dead.
Mordecai laughs and stops laughing.
And for once, the people are right.
Maximus arrives at the forge. He takes hold of the handle of the door. Maximus turns to Mordecai.
Go now, let me be.
Mordecai leans close to Maximus.
But I have some advice for you.
Maximus pulls open the door of the forge. Mordecai leans in further and whispers into Maximus's ear.
Come on, it's worth waiting for this.
Yeah.
Beware.
Maximus enters the forge. Maximus enters the forge. It is dark and quiet. Maximus moves into the forge and lights a lamp. The lamp spills forth its yellow light. A chain clanks.
Oh, is it me? I don't know.
Yeah.
Lucius.
Oh, are you a ghost?
Maximus turns as Lucius steps out of the shadows on the opposite side of the forge. Two guards stand behind him. Lucius stares at Maximus with his pale eyes. One of the guards' hands rests on the crank of a winch.
Oh, are you a spectre, Maximus Meridius?
Maximus slowly draws his sword.
Let's find out.
Lucius' eyes look up as he moves across the heavy chain of the hauling device. The pulleys and the counterweight. Lucius' eyes are light on Juba, who stands at the other end of the forge, his hands bound. The chain around his neck, he is gagged. His face has been beaten. Juba looks at Maximus, his eyes wide.
Move one step closer and me guard will release the lever. Here, you hold that. Move one step closer and me guard will release the lever. Your friend's neck will be snapped like a twig. Now, put up your sword.
Lucius moves a step closer.
I wish to speak to you.
Release him. He's not a part of this.
Oh, you must understand, Gladiator. I have to take precautions. I mean, you're well versed in the art of killing. Oh, how you used to swing that sword.
You will die. I will see to that.
Perhaps, but not this day.
What do you want?
Oh, forgive me, Maximus, but I am confused, about so many things. As a little boy, I used to have carrot cake with my mother. Oh, no, hang on. I watched a Roman general who became a gladiator bring down the very heavens upon his foes. And when he died, I stood by my mother and we wept. Well, all of Rome wept with us. He was a soldier, you see, a great warrior. Yet he stands before me now. I mean, how can that be?
Do not despair. You will see the heavens come tumbling down again.
Lucius waves his hand dismissively and smiles, almost sadly.
But you see, I'm further confused. Not only does this man stand before me now, but he forges an alliance with a sect of infidels whose beliefs defy all that he's ever fought for. I mean, Maximus, we're fighters, you and I. We're warriors. Roman warriors. Again, I'm very much perturbed.
I knew your mother well. She was a good woman. It would appear that she gave birth to a snake.
Again, Lucius waves away Maximus's retort.
Oh, yes.
Snake.
Snake.
Oh.
Snake. I used to play Snake on my first mobile. A good woman, yes, but a vulnerable one. You see, after you died, Maximus, she lost heart. She became remote, distant. They preyed on her, these Christians. They lured her in. They poured their cup of poison into her ears, filled her poor mind with their foul notions of glory. Glory through martyrdom. She was set upon by a mob and stoned to death. My good mother. I mean, she knelt in the dirt, wrung her hands, and flung her empty prayers to the stile. The mob, well, they tore her asunder. Oh, these fanatics, you bet, that you protect. Oh, Maximus, they cheered her on. She worshipped you.
Lucius smiles sadly.
As did I.
Maximus and Lucius stare at one another.
And what now? Are we fated to do battle, you and I? We, who are so alike.
Maximus stares at Lucius.
We are not alike, and fate has no part in this. I will see you again in this life.
Lucius nods.
I think so.
Lucius waves his hand.
Farewell. Go to your friend, Ghost.
Maximus moves across the room to Juba. He pulls the chain from Juba's neck. The winch crack spins. The iron counterweight drops with an enormous clang to the floor.
Clang.
Maximus unsheathes the sword and turns to face Lucius and his guards. But they are gone. Maximus unties Juba's hands. Juba tears off his gag. Juba, smarting with humiliation, looks at Maximus.
I am sorry, Maximus.
Are you all right, my friend?
Juba nods.
I look forward to killing that man.
Maximus stares at the door. The door swings open. Marius stands in the doorway. Interior, farmhouse of James, outside Rome, day. Maximus stands before Marius, James, and Justin in a room of the farmhouse. Outside, the sounds of the Christians' training can be heard.
Is there somewhere the women and children can go?
Yes.
Arrange it. Make sure all the horses, not all the horses, make sure all the houses are empty. No one should remain.
Justin leaps forward.
Yeah, but are we ready? Are we prepared?
Maximus stares at Justin.
We will amass as planned in the woods.
Huge square in Rome, morning. Massive altars have been set up in the various squares in Rome. Great queues of citizens have formed before the altars. Among them, they have thousands of animals. Goats, chickens, etc. in cages, on leads, in their arms.
Are you looking at the fucking window as well?
Not yet. There is much commotion and confusion. Guards stand at their altars with lists. Citizens walk to the altars, give their names, swear their allegiance to Rome, and slaughter an animal in ritual sacrifice.
Which animal?
The guards tick their names to the census. It is a scene of horrible carnage. The streets sound with the screams of animals and the run of their blood. Exterior, the woods outside Rome, sunset. The 200 Christians have amassed in the woods. They have set up makeshift camps and sit around the fires, eating and drinking.
Oh,
Maximus and Marius move amongst them in dying light. Streets of Rome, morning. The sun has risen above Rome, and Lucius, ready for business, rides through the streets accompanied by 6 guards.
Oh, I'm ready for business.
Another group of 4 guards ride along the streets of Rome. Interior, Christian's home, morning. Lucius and the guards kick open the doors and enter Christian's home. One guard holds a list in his hand. The house is empty. Lucius stands in the middle of the front room while the guards disappear into other rooms of the house. The guards return to Lucius.
There's no one here. Oh, go on. Whoever wants to do it.
There's no one here, sire. Lucius kicks over a table. Christian's home. Rome, afternoon. The other 4 guards kick in another Christian's door. One guard holds a list. Once again, the house is empty. The guards march through the house, overturning tables and chairs. Rome, late afternoon. Lucius and his 10 guards have met up in the square. Lucius's face is full of rage. He watches as another 5 guards ride their horses towards him. One of the 5 guards moves his horse up to Lucius. We found no one, sire. All the houses have been abandoned. Lucius looks around him in a state of fury.
Oh. You will not find them in Rome.
Lucius spins around his saddle and looks at a man, Paulus, standing before him.
Oh, who are you? The ones you seek have fled. Oh, fled? They're hiding in the woods, sire, in their hundreds.
Lucius spins around on his horse and addresses the guards.
Come.
And they all do. Lucius and the guards thunder away. Paulus stands alone in the square.
Oh.
Interior, the quarters of the Emperor Decius, evening. Decius stands on the balcony of his quarters, staring out at the streets below. Lucius enters.
Of the window,
Of the window, yeah. Decius keeps his back to Lucius. Lucius is intensely agitated.
Sire,
I expected to hear much agony and woe, Lucius. I expected to smell the fear and blood, but I'm standing here, listening, and I hear nothing but empty wind,
Decius sniffs the air.
and smell nothing but empty wind, and smell only the sweet honeysuckle.
Lucius steps forward.
well, they've fled, sire. All of them.
Decius continues to stare out over the city.
Fled? Where?
I've been informed they're hiding out in the woods. I have sent out some guards to verify it. Oh, sire, this presents a perfect opportunity.
What do you need, Lucius?
2 things, sire. I need troops.
And?
Your blessing, sire.
Decius turns to Lucius. He stares at them for a long time. Decius slowly nods his head.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
Exterior, the woods outside Rome, late evening. In the woods, Maximus and Marius sit together beneath the stars. There is a small fire which throws its light up into their faces. Maximus and Marius share some bread and a skin of wine.
There is mad talk amongst the men.
What are they saying?
Marius smiles.
They say you are a great gladiator returned from the dead.
As you said, mad talk.
They believe you will lead them into glory.
Let them do so. Belief can be a powerful thing.
There is a silence between Maximus and Marius.
Fuck.
Who do you believe in, Maximus?
I was a soldier. My beliefs were of little importance.
To hear them talk, you were a great general.
I was a soldier. I loved and served my emperor.
But as a man,
I believed in the goodness of my wife and my son. On the battlefield, within the horror of it all, I held that belief in my heart like a trembling thing. A belief that there would be an end to it all, the death and the bloodshed, and I would stand beside them once more.
and they were taken from you.
I can feel them with me now.
A man approaches Maximus and Marius. He squats down by them. It is Paulus.
They know we are here.
Maximus nods. Paulus stands and moves off. Maximus looks at Marius.
We'll be here in the morning. It is better you sleep.
And my father was also a great soldier.
Maximus stokes the fire, the yellow light on his face.
My true father, my blood father.
Maximus stops stoking the fire and looks at Marius.
I did not know him. He was never there. He was away, my father, forever at war.
Marius lies on the ground and pulls a blanket over himself. Maximus stares into the fire.
And then throws him into the fire.
Exterior, road out of Rome, morning. Lucius leads an army of 400 Roman soldiers on horseback along the road. The morning sun beats down. Lucius sits powerful and imperious in the saddle. Exterior, the woods outside Rome, evening. The 200 Christians stand in the woods. They burn torches. There are campfires dotted about. Marius stands before them. Behind Marius and separate from the preceding stand, Maximus and Juba. Marius steps forward.
Let us pray.
The Christians kneel down en masse. Marius, too, kneels down. Maximus and Juba do not kneel, but stand and watch the proceedings.
Juba,
Yes, my friend.
you do not have to do this.
Juba smiles.
It would appear that you are under some kind of illusion, Maximus, that you can do this without me.
Maximus smiles. Juba stares out at the Christians. After a time, Maximus turns his head and looks behind him. Through the trees, there is a faint rustling. Maximus sees the shape of a stag, moving eerily about the growth. He watches the shape of a stag as Marius prays. Oh, stag, yeah.
Oh, stag, yeah. It's bloody symbolism, you see. It's all this symbolism.
And I haven't got any beer. Lucius looks down at the plain before him and at the woods. Lucius draws... Oh, no, sorry, I've gone too far. He watches the shape of the stag. As Marius prays, Juba continues to watch the Christians, his smile gone. Rise in the plain near the woods, late morning, exterior. The army stands along the rise, looking over the plain at the large woods. In the distance, Lucius, on horseback, rides slowly along the front of the ranks. surveying the troops. Lucius takes up position at the front of the amassed army. He looks down at the plain before him and at the woods. Lucius draws his sword.
Charge!
Lucius and the Roman army surge forth down the rise, and across the plain there is a great and spectacular thundering of horses as they go. But I got to read all that now. You guys have a rest.
Yeah.
Exterior of the woods, late morning. Lucius leads his army as they gallop across the plain. The army enters the woods on horseback. They continue into the woods. Lucius holds up his hand and the army thunders to a halt. All is eerie and still. Light filters through the trees. The horses snort. Lucius swings around on his saddle, looking in all directions. Christians stand suddenly, fire arrows. Many soldiers are hit as they are ambushed by the Christians. Soldiers fall from their horses. General mayhem, he dies as well. Lucius and his army dismount, and a bloody ground battle ensues. Christians die. Soldiers die. Maximus plows into the soldiers, sword flying. Juba drags soldiers from their horses and slaughters them. There is a long and terrifying ground battle. Juba is overpowered by 3 soldiers who bear down on him. Maximus sees this and throws his sword and kills a soldier before he can deliver the death blow. Juba stands. Lucius appears before him and cuts Juba's throat. Juba falls to the ground and dies.
For Juba.
Oh, I love Juba. I'm so sad he's gone.
That's going to hurt the
His
people.
wife's still alive. It's all right.
Relieved I got through without offending a lot
No.
of people.
Thank you for Juba. Maximus runs for Lucius. Lucius sees Maximus coming and mounts his horse. Lucius charges off through the woods. Maximus mounts a horse and charges after him. Marius sees this and mounts his horse. The trees whip past in a clearing. Lucius's stallion stumbles and Lucius is thrown from his horse.
Oh!
Mounted
Maximus dismounts. Lucius stands. Lucius unsheathes his sword. Maximus, sword drawn, approaches Lucius. They fight. It is a long and bitter battle. Maximus wounds Lucius in the arm. Lucius holds his arm and drops his sword and stares into Maximus's face. Maximus raises his sword to deliver the death blow.
Only at your hands, Maximus.
An arrow flies through the air and sticks through Lucius's neck.
Oh, I got the point.
Maximus turns to see Marius standing there with a bow in his hand. Lucius staggers, his face full of surprise. Lucius dies. Oh, that's good timing.
I just heard you were dead. Oh.
Here we go. I've got right now. Marius lets the bow fall from his hand. He is covered in blood. Marius looks around him at the butchered corpses of Christians and soldiers alike. Marius looks up at the heavens. Clouds rumble across. Marius's face is a mask of anguish and regret.
Good. Oh, Lord, what have we done?
Marius drops to his knees.
They say, oh no, that's the page before. What have we done?
James rushes to the clearing, covered in blood, pumped from the fight.
They're retreating!
Maximus.
They,
Marius, still kneeling, looks at Maximus. Maximus looks at Marius.
What do we do now?
Maximus and Marius continue to look at each other.
We regroup and we fight.
James turns and heads back into the woods. Maximus and Marius remain in the clearing. They look at one another. All is still. There is a crackling of undergrowth and a stag crashes into the clearing. 3 arrows stick out of its neck, 1 out of its side. It moves unsteadily into the clearing. It stretches back its neck and bellows mournfully. Maximus watches the stag. Maximus kneels down, picks up some earth, and rubs it into his hands. Close-up of Maximus's hands as he rubs dirt into them. Exterior, battlefield, Middle East, day. Maximus
that was the worst
stands.
stag night ever.
Maximus stands. He is dressed in chainmail and covered in a white uniform with a red cross on it. What? He holds a sword in his hand. He is surrounded by hundreds of crusaders. In similar attire, he looks up and an army of Muslims descend upon them. Their war cries are ferocious. They fight a horrific battle. Maximus remains untouched. Exterior, the woods, Rome, late morning. The stag shot with arrows stumbles and drops to its knees. Exterior, another battlefield, Europe. Close-up of Maximus's hands as he rubs snow on them. Maximus stands in the middle of another battlefield, more modern, in a field of blood and death and snow. Exterior, the woods, Rome, late morning. The stag falls onto its side and moans. Exterior, another battlefield, Europe. Maximus stands in the middle of another battlefield. Armored tanks bear down, automatic weapons. Maximus fights, soldiers fall about him. Exterior, woods, Rome, late morning. The stag's dying eyes roll into its head. Another battle, Vietnam.
Oh no!
Day.
I
Maximus
really hope it goes
stands.
to another battle, the future in space.
That'd be
Yeah.
great. Maximus
The
stands.
Another battle, the Coca-Cola Wars on the moon.
Maximus stands. Jungle carnage. Choppers. Oh.
I wanted one of those.
Exterior, the woods, Rome, late morning. Close up of the stag's mouth, agape, lowing horribly. Interior, the bathroom. Get ready for this, okay?
This is amazing.
Interior, bathroom, Pentagon, Washington. Close up, Maximus rubs a cake of soap between his hands under a streaming tap. Maximus looks up. He is in a clean, sterile men's room. He washes his hands in a basin. The basin is one of 3 in a row. As he does so, he stares into the mirror above the basin. Maximus looks at himself for a long time. He stares deep in reflected eyes. He's dressed in a crisp black suit and wears a tie. He continues to look at himself. He turns off the tap. He dries his hands on a towel. He looks back into the mirror. Mordecai stands beside him.
Mordecai.
Yes, Maximus. Until eternity itself has said its prayers.
Maximus adjusts his tie. He moves out of the bathroom, leaving Mordecai behind.
I mean, I could come with you. No.
Hallway. Maximus walks down the hallway under neon lights. He passes a secretary who carries an armful of documents. He opens a door. Interior room, Pentagon, Washington. Maximus enters the room. There is a large circular table. 10 men in suits sit around the table. They each have a laptop open in front of them. There is a bank of screens along one wall. Maximus sits down at the table in a black, high-backed leather chair.
Excuse me, gentlemen.
Maximus looks at his laptop, then looks up at the other 10 men.
Now, where were we?
The end.
Wow.
I'm absolutely loving when it came to the Pentagon. Then somebody in the comments went, "Yeah, I knew that was coming."
Really?
Wow.
I mean, it's the obvious next step.
They should have grounded it more. He should have just been like, the last scene should have been Butlin's Minehead.
On a Friday night where it just kicks off.
Wow. So explain that, someone.
I can't.
No,
No one can.
No.
And now, please welcome our special guest, Nick Cave.
He's
Good night, mate.
Does it mean
Nick Cave gave it to Russell Crowe to read.
Yeah, and Russell Crowe said, "Don't like it, mate."
Don't like
the end
him.
of our friendship. Never call me again.
I don't know about you, but
asking for a sequel and getting that back though, be like, don't
Have
like him.
you read my script, Russell? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
Interesting. It
the
was.
thing is, I genuinely would have liked to have seen it.
only though, if Juba
Window
was
vision.
Yeah.
Only
I
through
mean,
a window.
the only thing good about that film is that Juba is Welsh.
Yeah. Juba
Really?
is very well in the comments, by the way. Juba has got about Josh, a friend of ours, Josh, has been pitching ideas for a Juba spin-off.
Oh, go on.
Let's have a look. What do we have? Let's have a look. Juba does Dallas. That's nice.
Nice.
Juba Tub Time Machine.
Right.
Jupocalypse Now. That's
I think Juba needs a sort of like mid-afternoon, what used to be like Pebble Mill at 1, like a sort of gentle chat show. Like
It was very expensive.
Juba sits on a massive throne and just literally scares her guests. His guests, sorry.
Oh, well, that was fun.
That was fun. I well done everyone for sticking with that.
Yeah.
Well done, guys. I'm knackered and I'm drunk.
That
And
was
myself-
like community service.
Yeah,
To be
that
fair-
zoo scene got me very drunk.
It felt longer, but it was probably with a break. It probably only come out about 2.25 hours. It's not even that long a film, and there's no third act.
No, there isn't.
No, well, there's
There's-
not much of a
There's
first
no
act.
first act.
And, yeah, and the second act
And yet, it
dwindles.
spans the whole of history.
Yeah, and yet nothing happens.
What a phenomenal.
It's like Highlander in reverse, but Highlander being really boring.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the Odyssey. What's that film? 2001 An Odyssey.
Yes.
Space Odyssey, yeah.
When they span the whole of humanity in like 30 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
This time, it's right at the
Yeah,
end,
well
and
done.
it's Russell Crowe.
So does Maximus know that Marius is his son?
Yeah.
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 Does he know that Marius went on to make wonderful potatoes?
Because why doesn't he at some point go, "You're my fucking son"?
You know what, though? Seriously, it does answer a question for me. Seriously,
What's
as
that?
someone who enjoyed the first Gladiator film. When I went to see Gladiator, what was it, 2000?
Yeah.
I sat there watching that and thinking, I wonder if Maximus can use a laptop. And then at the end of this, he's using them.
Yeah,
So
Well, the other
Oh,
10 men are using it. He just sits down and says, "Now, where were we?"
that's
Yeah.
true. Would you
Control,
like a laptop, sir?
control
No.
alt delete. Hang on.
Yeah. No, someone has to deal with it. Can't remember the password. Someone deal with it.
It would have been amazing if
It's eternity within one.
they kept it genuinely up to date. Because isn't there one point that Maximus sort of comes out the body of a Christian?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Imagine if he came out of Trump,
Like Quato.
and that's how you end it. Wow.
What was the picture Maximus runs for president? Yeah, I'd watch that. Somebody's also just Last Juba in Paris.
Texas Chainsaw Juba.
Police Academy 5 mission to Juba.
Juba.
I think we're all agreed that Juba was the star of this film.
Juba was the star of that. It was well done. That was the direction they should have taken in the original, frankly.
Why didn't they? Especially as like Ewan Griffith was probably free.
So Dan, I don't know how much you know about the story of the script, but I mean, did it come even remotely close to sort of going through studios, or was it just flat out?
It was no. Ridley Scott had a look at it.
Right.
Way more polite about it than Ridley Scott was, because Ridley Scott just said, "Don't like it, mate." That's literally what he said.
Right.
And then Nick was like, "What about the end? The end's pretty. No one's expecting the end." And Ridley Scott was like, "Well, actually, Ridley Scott quite liked the end," and Russell Crowe was like, "Down like no, down like." Also, it's not much of a part for Russell Crowe, because Russell Crowe spends most of the movie just going, "Pardon?"
Watching things.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was Russell Crowe who pushed for a sequel, which is remarkable because at the end of the first one, Russell Crowe is definitely dead.
Yeah, but he won an Oscar, and he probably had decent. I mean, he would have got a lot of money.
And he was obsessed with Rhino CGI as well, wasn't he?
Was he?
And
Is that
the
where there's
thing
a
about
dead
that
rhinoceros?
email he sent Nick Cave. He was like, "I want to do a sequel," and Nick Cave was like, "But you're dead at the end of the first one." He was like, "Mate, you don't understand. We spent so much money on rhinoceri CGI." He's like, "We've just got that. We never used it."
Hang on. So Nick Cave was incredulous.
Yeah.
And
So he's
then
like,
wrote it.
imagine a scene with like me fighting all these rhinoceros.
Nice. I mean, I did draw an electrocuted giraffe during it. He's there.
Did you?
There he is. There's the electrocuted giraffe.
I think he is.
That's beautiful.
Have we lost John?
He had enough.
John, are you still with
That
us?
looks nothing like a giraffe. I am leaving.
Goodbye.
It's an insult to multivertebrated animals.
Has he literally turned himself off just to go and get a drink?
He must, or a piss, or he's just decided to end it all. So ultimately, no, I won't say this on camera, but we have just had a message from John. Oh, fuck it, nipping for a piss.
Oh yeah, it's on private chat.
You could have left the camera on, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. So I still would have. It would have been a massive curate's egg to watch, and I think if at the time when it, so I'd imagine this would have been made 2003, 4.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
God knows.
I think I would have gone to see it.
Especially if they let us cast it. I would agree.
I think if they'd had Ian Clement or Dick Clement and Ian Lafrene do the punch up on it,
Yeah.
that would have been
Right.
very
Yeah.
well.
So, women beat their breasts. No, nothing beats women's breasts.
There are only really two. Is it 3 sort of action pieces in the entire script?
There's the battle. There's a couple of little sword fights, but it's
The
not.
rest of it is just Maximus wandering around being befuddled.
Yeah.
Being a bit from Back to the Future at one point.
To be
Yeah.
fair to Maximus, you would be.
Yeah, but
Battles.
it does feel like he asks the wrong questions a lot of the time.
Ah, there we are.
How was the piss?
Hi, I went for a wee.
How was it?
That was great.
Wow.
We're going for a close up on this.
Or
it's really good.
John Rain.
You should have stayed on mic like Frank Drebin
I should have done, shouldn't I?
police squad films.
Well, during the second half, I drank 3 cans of beer. So
Blimey.
what? You know, it's only rented.
Oh, that. People still pitching ideas.
Oh yeah.
Stop it.
The
No.
Juba.
That's what we'll do. The next one will be just Juba on his own.
I promise you it won't be.
And the next person your idea is a certain Woody Allen. Okay, Woody, what have you got to say? Me and Tuba. In a tuba.
So are we going to do this again?
We are going to do this again, and
Same one.
we're not the
Now.
same.
Oh.
Yeah. No,
Sorry.
that was
In
what?
what?
Now back to page 1. Here we go. This is the run.
A dense blanket of rain. No, sorry. Me and Dan have been talking about doing another script.
Yeah.
And what's
Did
that?
you Superman Lives?
Ooh.
Not Superman Lives.
Superman Lives was Kevin Smith wrote.
Yeah.
Tim Burton to direct.
There's a few. Me and John have been talking about this. There's a lot of legendary, not bad, but ones. Well, some of them are just curios that would never have got made. So there's
Okay.
and there's my favorite one is Jurassic Park 4,
Right.
which is, if you don't know the pitch of that, it's got nothing to do with the first 3. It's a they take raptors and they train them to be special ops soldiers.
Christ.
And
It's-
you've got
they
like
sort-
hybrids as well.
They
in there, haven't
sort of did that. No, but they've sort of done that
I'm
in
in.
our new film.
How much money do you want?
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
make it.
This is a free service during the lockdown.
Oh.
This is,
Wow.
no one's talking for us, but
The other one we really want to do is Jaws 3 People Nil.
yes. Now, did somebody just said that?
Did they?
Same time as you said it, somebody said, "How about Jaws?" Right? Oh yeah. So somebody was Jaws 3 People Nil.
Oh yeah.
George Miller. Yeah, this is William Gibson's Alien 3, which won't be funny because I think it's actually quite good.
Yeah, it is quite good.
We do the ones that
Oh.
are probably shit.
Hmm.
But if people want to see it, we can do William Gibson's Alien 3 if there's enough interest in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there will be plenty. Somebody just said the one with the wooden wheel of monks.
That's Gibson's Alien 3, though, isn't it?
I haven't read it yet. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Thank God for that. All right. Yeah, we will be doing more. I'm glad people have enjoyed this and they've stuck around.
I'm Gladiator. People enjoyed it.
We can also do the early drafts of things that get like it says it's the first draft of Back to the Future, which is completely different.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's good.
He spends
Is that the one with
time
the-
not going back to the future.
Well, he just dies.
No, he just sits there in his own school while they set up various things that'll happen in Act 3 when he does pop back for a bit, and then
Wasn't the pilot of I keep calling it Dungeons and Dragons, but it's not Dungeons and Dragons. Game of Thrones.
Pride and Prejudice, yeah.
Apparently, the pilot of Game of Thrones is one of the worst pilots in history.
oh yes, yeah. The
They
first
like
one.
recast and change everything. Apparently, it's horrific. Let's go.
Really?
What's this? Oh, wait a minute. I've
Oh,
clicked-
what's that?
Ooh.
QK says yes.
Somebody has said, put user in timeout. This is the one I think. Oh, fuck.
What does
Time
QK
out.
yes mean?
Oh, there we are. Yeah, there we are. There's
Oh.
Josh. So that's really good. Someone
How
just.
come this is the first time we can see
Ooh.
Comments, yes.
Yeah, this is
This is the first time
exciting.
we
You
can
just blocked someone's
readers live.
It's,
Oh, there.
you just blocked
Thanks,
someone.
guys and gal, top stuff. This is very nice. I didn't know you could do this. I'm new to this.
I think we should all say this, in all seriousness, thank you to Dan, because Dan has been behind
That's
the,
amazing.
technical
Dan.
aspects of this evening, so thank you, Dan.
And this is definitely the best livey, streamy way to do things. This is amazing because I've tried so many and they're all unremittingly shite. So this is really good. Genuinely.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'm glad everyone had a good time. I guess what time is it? It doesn't matter
It's
anymore.
Quarter to 12.
It'll be to midnight.
Yeah.
God. Well,
Why? What are you doing tomorrow, Dan?
I'm working tomorrow.
Oh shit! Really?
Wow.
Working in the mat? What? Really? Where? What? Why? How? Where?
Them dicks don't suck themselves.
Them dicks.
Remotely.
This is more of a conversation for off, but I'm making a show for S4C still.
Oh, is this
Oh, okay.
a Pierre Colombo?
Yeah, I'm still working on Pierre Colombo.
Yes, there is just the one more thing.
question,
Just the one more thing.
Honestly, if you were going to pitch a detective series, a French detective in a small Welsh town would be amazing.
No, but a French Colombo is more Welsh town. It's even better.
Got a little berry on a Citroen TV.
No, monsieur.
Madame Colombo, she loves the.
Monsieur Colombo. What?
She is a fan of the lava bread.
Le pain de là-bas.
This is so offensive now.
By the
But-
way, if someone makes Pierre Colombo, can you chuck me a tenner? Because I'm telling intellectual copyright, even though I have no intellect.
Of course, it cannot be Pierre Colombo because obviously it just has to be Colombo. You never should know Colombo's name.
Yeah, but this is a different one.
But it's his French one, isn't it?
Just a different one.
It's a different one.
Carrying a baguette.
A different one. And he constantly tells you his name.
Oh, there's a
Hello,
question
my
there.
name is Pierre.
Mel Cerebo 5000. Excuse moi. Oh, yes. Bring Pierre Colombo to our skills.
To our skills, probably screens.
Screens.
There we
Oh,
are.
skill-
I get it.
Moi.
I meant
I meant
screens.
screens. Yeah, it's good.
That's great.
This comments thing's great. Where was that
Yeah.
hiding?
Yeah,
People
we should have had that
People are
around.
still pitching Juba products.
Juba
Wait.
toothpaste.
Well, I mean,
Tastes
Amazing.
bloody minty, it does.
and you meant screens. Well, there we are. This has been the show.
Yeah.
Well, this has been the show.
This is a thing
Next
that
week, Pierre Colombo.
literally dozens of people have stuck around to watch the entirety of.
How many watched in the end? Do we know?
We had, I don't know how many was total to watch.
78,000.
78,000 people watched, which
That's
is
good.
more than Pierre Colombo.
Which is more than Pierre Colombo gets, definitely.
With guest star Patrick
Oh,
Nicolet.
yeah. And I think this comment. There we are. That's
Yeah.
visible. I think we can all agree because when we were talking about it last night, we were kind of thinking it's not that. I mean, I think it's terrible, but some people were defenders of the screenplay, and I think that we can all agree, having read it out loud.
It's indefensible.
It's dreadful.
Can we just say though, that Nick Cave said he really enjoyed writing it because he knew it would never get made.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, we
So
all
I
say
think-
that afterwards, don't we? We all say like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave it to Channel 4 so they wouldn't make it.
I just thought he was having a lovely time writing the most insane.
Noel Fielding did that with his luxury comedy, and then it got actually made. So
Oh, yeah. I love doing that murder, and I just hoped I didn't get caught. Right, you did.
Oh.
Yeah. I didn't think it was that, but I kind of liked it.
You are the sole voice of defense of this.
Any script that has a knot in his cheek clenches. Is it 4 times? The knot in his cheek works.
Yeah.
I
They're
just,
either-
I had to research it after I read it because it was so mad. Do you know what I mean?
When you say research, do you mean bulk buy at Oddbins?
Exactly so.
Yeah.
Exactly so.
Okay.
anyway, let's do it again.
We'll do it
Yeah.
again. We have
Yes, please.
nothing but time. I think we might see a lot of Juba memes in the morning based on what's going on in the thread.
Oh, I'm
That's
so
lovely.
sorry for what I've done.
Please
Juba was
goes to whatever the group is. What is the Twitter? Unmade show. Just if you knocking stuff up, Let's get the work. Oh God, I feel like one of the YouTube channels. Please like and subscribe.
And the great thing about the Unmade show is it's a tight 3 hours.
Fuck me.
Just a tight 3 hours.
It's ideal for your commute.
Your commute.
That would be a lot of description.
To Stuttgart or Liechtenstein. But it was really good fun to do. Thank you so much, Dan.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Thank you so much. I guess now I think I want to close on, just so everyone has a tune to go to bed with. Where do we put it? There we are. We'll sign off now. Let's say thank you so much for listening and watching. Just to say,
Can I just say before we go? Can I just say good night, Paul? Good night, Matt. Good night,
John.
Good night, Aris.
Good night. Good night, Tracy.
Night, Dan.
Night, night. Night, night.
Good night.
Oh, dog content.
Yeah, boy.
This could be heavy, not as easy as it seems, quite tough to carry, a lot more inside that no one has seen. You lying there, you're not one bit scared, to shoulder a burden like me. Don't close your eyes, turn your face to the skies. Breathe me as deep as you can. Your strong heart won't break. Are you ready to take the weight of a man? I'm so hard to handle. My life's a suitcase that's never been closed. Don't know how you stand me. Oh, how you love me, God only knows. There's ghosts and there's witches, there's black eyes and stitches. They come with me, it's part of the show. Don't close your eyes, turn your face to the skies. Breathe as deep as you can. Your strong heart won't break. Are you ready to take the weight of a man? The weight of a man. Standing on it because you're lying there. Shift me slightly, find inspiration. Some switches and ghosts create some havoc with their host. You make me lighter, you're my salvation. This could be heavy, not as easy as it seems, quite tough to carry. A lot more inside that no one has seen. But you lying there, you're not one bit scared to shoulder a burden like me. Don't close your eyes, turn your face to the skies. Breathe me as deep as you can. Your strong heart won't break. Are you ready to take